Where's your weaver?
Lucia.
वो बेचारे भाग भाग के खाना खा के आए.
Come and do it here. शुरू कर दें. ये मैंने 1 मिनट नीचे किया है. जब हम ये हमारा ये टेबल पे आ नमस्कार. हाँ अभी नहीं उस समय.
हाँ कैमरा तो नहीं जा. कैमरा तो बाहर करके नहीं जा.
I welcome you all back to our afternoon.
नेचुरल डाटा
गीत गोविंद.
गीत गोविंद
जयदेव का
जी.
आपने बनाया.
Hello, hello.
Thank you.
Can we have your attention?
Thank you.
जयदेव का
Thank
जो
you.
किताब है ना गीत
जब
गोविंद
मुझे पता है.
Well, welcome back
करके लिए आपने
to
बनाया.
the afternoon session
एक पीस बना
on Ikat usage, tradition and beyond.
52 मीटर.
I hope you've been able to hear me. You can't hear? Okay. I welcome you back for the third time for the afternoon post-lunch session on Ikat usage, tradition and beyond. We again have a very eminent list of speakers lined up for you. Before I hand over to the chairperson of the session, Sri Gulshan Nanda, I just want to briefly introduce her. She will be introducing the other participants and chairing the session. Gulshan Nanda is a Padma Shri and has dedicated her life to working on the marketing of crafts. She started her career in 1952 with the Central Cottage Industries Emporium as a sales assistant and worked her way through various departments and assignments, retiring in 1990 as a general manager merchandising. In 2005, she was invited to take over as chairperson, a post she held till 2010. She was instrumental in setting up the first store that kept products made by the tribal communities of India, for which she travelled across the tribal areas to source genuine products. Called Tribes, the store now has branches in most state capitals across the country. She was co-chair of the Handicrafts and Handloom Group on the steering committee for the 12th Five-Year Plan, Planning Commission, Government of India. Actively involved with the Craft Revival Trust, the Crafts Council of India, she is also the chairperson of Commitment to Kashmir, an organization dedicated to promoting craft entrepreneurship in the valley. Gulshanji, over to you.
Thank you. Well, our first speaker has already been introduced. You all know him very well. He's going to talk about Iban Textiles of Sarawak. And he is talking about the woven dreams that the women weave in their dreams.
Okay, I'm back again. Somebody was saying, oh, you again.
You're welcome.
Anyway, I hope you can see me beyond this laptop. I begin with advertisement, you know. It is the continuing journey of the World Ikat Textile Symposium and Exhibition, and we are going to host it in December, from the 1st to the 3rd of December in Kuching, Sarawak, East Malaysia. And this is where you will meet the Iban weavers who have the dreams and weave it for you to see. And if you want to come and you wish to go to the longhouse in which they live, then they will be also doing a very special ritual known as the warpath of the women, the Ngar ceremony, where they ceremoniously do the ritual for treating the cotton yarn with oils and gingers, so that this cotton yarn can then absorb the natural colors of Enkudu, Morinda citrifolia, so that it was known as the warpath of the women, because the color that they hope that they will achieve through this ritual will eventually be like the color of blood. So that's my little publicity. There is a website there called wits.weft.org, WITS, World Ikat Textile Symposium, WEFT for WEFT, World Eco Fiber and Textile. So it's WITS and WEFT together. All right, so mark those dates and look in the website if you wish to register. And if you want to go to the Longhouse, indicate quickly. We have limited capacity. We can only bring 20 people. Otherwise, not enough boats to take you upriver. Okay, beyond the woven dream, the Rumah Gari Longhouse, the silk ikat weavers of Sarawak, Malaysian Borneo. This is tourism. This is what we are about, they say. The Ministry of Tourism, we are about crocodiles and rare birds and animals. They forgot that we also have weavers. And this is where we are located. I don't know where the pointer is, but you can see we are on the big island of Borneo, and which means that we are south of Thailand, north of Java, east of Sumatra, and south of the Philippines. And if you look into the center, I'm sorry, they don't give us a pointer to point to you. Rumah Gari is right in the center, in the heart of Borneo, up the river known as Rejang, beyond Kapit, and into the remote areas known as Sungai Kain. In the 19th century, that is how the adventurers who come to Sarawak, mostly from Europe, from England, we have three generations of a white Raja known as the Brooks. They came in 1838. They became the Raja of Sarawak. And this is how his associates painted in a little lino print about our brave warriors, the Iban warriors, who were then supposed to be what we call headhunters. In the 1950s, another lady photographer took this, known as the Mering ceremony. It indicates to you how the Iban Puak Kumbu, the Wap Ikat textiles and cotton, also known as woven dreams, were used. They were used to define sacred spaces where ceremonies such as this, where the shaman of the village is blessing the maidens who are dressed in their skirts known as kain kebat. The skirts are all hand woven in ikat, and they wear silver corsets, and their arms are with shell bracelets. On the floor, on a mat, are sacrifices to the gods. The men on the left are dressed in Kelambi jackets. There's one such 150-year-old jacket on display in the exhibition. Go have a look, but please do not touch. What is interesting is that it combines two techniques. There is the ikat technique on the main jacket, but at the bottom of the back is a very special technique known as a tapestry weave. This is a technique which is now lost. We have tried to revive, but not very successful. A Gawai Burong or a Hornbill festival. Here you find on the floor a special ritual textile of ikat, Puakumbu. This is to celebrate the chief god of the Iban, known as Singgalang Burong, Gawai Kenyalang, now interpreted as the Hornbill Festival, where an effigy of the god in a sacred bird known as a hornbill is being carved. And these ceremonies in the ancient days of head hunting were associated with the god of bravery. So to invoke the god of bravery to come, so that when they hoist up this hornbill carving on top of a pole directed at the direction of the enemy, victory is guaranteed. So from the spirit of the cloth to the hornbill, it goes ahead of you. You are more than victorious. So there are many legends and myths, and this is all in Julok, if you like. There are too many stories to tell, but I just want to show you this magical jacket. Because here, the jacket on the right is known as Baju Burung, a jacket of the almond birds. All the stripes here depict different augury birds, birds that are messengers of the gods to you to tell you whether it is good or bad, that you should not leave your longhouse because it's a bad omen, and when a bird sings, a certain blackbird tells you it's wrong day to go out. A certain bird tells you it's good. Certain bird will tell you that there is a storm coming. So it's very interesting because the Iban belief is that man comprises of your soul and your body. And when you sleep, your soul leaves your body and you're in the spirit realm. And in that spirit realm, there are other evil spirits that can come and destroy and battle with your spirit if they are bad. And they'll cause you to be sick. So then there is the shaman who will be the one who will be interacting on your behalf. She goes into a trance in an enclosure of sacred cloth. She departs her spirit into the heavenlies, and then she does the battle on your behalf and fights the evil spirit so that you will be healed and healthy. So this is what is imbued into the power of the cloth. This is a very interesting story because it involves, and Lucia will be my little model here. Let's pretend that she is a wood carving. God did not just invent and create Adam, but also created Eve. So this is a wood carving. And so the chief god, the creator god, covered the sacred cloth over this statue and shouted to this statue, "Come alive! Come alive! Come alive!" And lo and behold, you get Lucia, not Eve. But this is what was the legend about the creation of man. All right? So it is very interesting that there are so many legends and stories, and many of them are in oral tradition. There's no written language in Iban, and everything is passed on from generation to generation, through songs to poetry, through julok. And so it is when you have a big cloth like this, Lucia. This is a super big piece in silk. If you look, there is the main design, which is the woven dream in the center. And because the motif is imbued with power and with messages, it has to be properly framed in at the top and at the bottom, with also powerful motifs. And on the side, you have other motifs, which are motifs of the sacred bird, for example, shown here. So they are properly framed in and contained within the piece of textile, so that the power of the cloth does not simply jump out and create imbalance between mankind and the spirit world. Ties that bind, because tying the warp threads with a resist fiber, such as what we call lamba, a plant fiber, to create the patterns. I've already shared with you about the ties, the curl on the left, but I'd like to share with you this other story on the right. This is a new dream by my master weaver, Nancy Ngali. She had a dream that she is now Christian, but the Holy Spirit is telling her, weave the pattern of a black dog. Weave the pattern of a black dog. And she says, I've never done a dog motif in my life. How do I know how to weave a dog motif? And so she resisted for 3 times. The dream comes back. One day, we were invited to the Museum of Ethnography in Gothenburg in Sweden. And when we arrived and went to the curator's office, there was this big Newfoundland dog. That is the dog from my dream. My goodness, Edric. They call me Edriac. Edriac, anjing hitam, black dog. I say, what black dog? From my dream. Now I must go home and I must weave this black dog. So a year later, she came back to me and presented this piece to me and says, anjing hutam. Right? And I said to her, hey, am I colorblind? This is not a black dog, this is a white dog. And she says, you have no imagination. Look, what is the color? Your hair is black inside, white. So you see the fur. You either see white or you see black. So is it a black or a white dog? You tell me. So that's interesting because it's how you visualize. You see either the positive or the negative. The Sungai Kain River of cloth. Here is the matriarch, the late Karama, showing a big cotton piece. We go up by river on a small canoe to reach the longhouse. This is a photo opportunity. The great-granddaughter of that master weaver posing for me by the river, wearing a big one woven and dyed in natural yellow. Ngal, the warpath of the women, as I mentioned to you, is the ritual of treating the cotton thread with oils and gingers, and they're put in these big iron wood troughs that look like boats so that they can be properly submerged and treated. And when the weavers go out to boil the gingers and oils, they are protected from the evil spirit that will come to destroy their adventure in dyeing, and they are covered with the cloth on their heads. Preparing the gingers and salts, the kapayang nut oil, and the morinda dyes. The nuts are fried as well, and then they are crushed to mix into the mordant. The different ingredients, and there you find on the right, bangi anak embol, indu nakar, indu ngar. She who knows the magical ingredients for creating the ngar, the dye bars. Brings the women weavers together. They gather together once a year. It is a community excursion, the warpath. When all the portions are properly mixed in, the women pound all the salts to make sure they're totally immersed into the oils, and then they gather together and trample the yarn in the troughs of ironwood. And then Bangi, the leader, the weaving master, she leads the group marching around the troughs, armed with a sword in one hand and a ginger leaf on the other. The battle has been won. The sword. There is now peace with the ginger leaf. Here she is posing next to her young hanks of yarn. The lady on the right is arranging the natural indigo silk thread. This is the Morinda citrifolia. We know it as engkudu. In Indonesia, they call it mengkudu. Tarum, our Iban indigo is Masdenia tinctoria. It is different from your Indigo ferra tinctoria. It is what I like to call Iban indigo. And this is the color. Later, you'll see it more closely. It is unfermented. They do not do a fermentation vat, but it is crushed, green. Half of it is semi-boiled, and they mix it with lime, slaked lime from shells, and then they totally mix it, and then the threads are then soaked in it, and the color blue comes. The one on the right is a color we have revived from Fibrauria tinctoria, Acalpanawa landak. It is very interesting that when I asked them, showing them old pieces, they said, yes, we know this, but we only now use it when we have stomach ache. It is a medicinal sap from this wild vine in the rainforest that when they have stomach ache, they go and get the juice and drink it. So I said, good. Now after you weave it, I can promote and sell it. It's very medicinal. If you have stomach ache, you just put it in your mouth and you'll be healed. Weaving an Iban Pakumbu Ikat. Now I just want to show you this because Vokra Gajibat, I don't know whether it's the right way to pronounce it, but on the left is a Patan Patola, right? And I don't know whether it's Patan or whether it is from Andhra. Okay, Patan, confirmed. It's the floral basket pattern, I believe. And on the right is an Iban Pua Bulan. How that motif, through photographic memory seen by the Iban weavers from thread cloth that has penetrated into the islands of Borneo onto the other parts of Southeast Asia, then gets adopted into the vocabulary as here Bua Bulan, the moon cloth. A remote agrarian community, a long way to the city, but they still managed to find their way to Chile, to France, to Japan, Australia, Canada. They have now got the Award of Excellence from UNESCO, World Crafts Council. This is the story of the beautiful Ikat textiles in fashion that you saw last night. The luxury of Sarawak style, an Iban beauty, fashion show in Hyderabad, as corporate gifts, as interior decor, home style. This Gulshan Ji at Rajiv Gandhi Craft Bhagwan several years ago when you helped us to have that exhibition there. Thank you very much. I just give you a link to, you can find also on YouTube, if you're interested, a video made by our friend David McLanahan. Look, Dreamweavers of Rumagari, and you will be able to see a 40-minute video clip on how Iban textiles are woven in Sarawak. Thank you very much. Publicity, if you're interested, see me later.
I have a stomachache.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I will.
But you have to eat the plant, not the shawl.
Well, the sap is here. The juice.
Our next speaker is Lucia Kotani. Lucia Kotani is a restaurateur by profession and entrepreneur by experience. She has been operating Ibai's Cafe and Pastry in Baguio City for nearly 2 decades now, and in the course of her work, she has sought to feature products native to Cordillera as a means to instill pride among the people of the region. As product of parents hailing from the towns of Sagada and Bissau in Mountain Province, Lucia has imbibed a deep respect and understanding of the culture to which she belongs. In her current role as General Manager of NADA's Research and Design Office, she brings the same vitality and energy in keeping her mother's legacy alive. She taps at the core of NADA's enterprise, ensuring that local weavers find gainful employment and raise the status of their practice as art and expression of culture. Her experience in weaving and exposure to technology coupled with an appreciation for nature, has also steered the brand towards producing Narda's Naturals, a line of eco-friendly garments and home apparel. In the coming months, Lucia hopes to develop a handicraft center at her family's Vinaka estate where people can learn weaving, natural dyeing, basketry, wood carving, and other arts common to the people of Cordillera. Lucia is going to talk about legacy of Nada Kopia in reviving Cordillera Ikat of Philippines. Lucia Kotani's Cordillera, Ikat Master Weaver.
Good day, everyone. I am honored to be here in such good company where I know I have much to learn. But let me first correct the notion that I am a master weaver. I learned to weave when I was younger, mostly out of a fascination for the world I was exposed to, the world of weavers, that is. But I am hardly a master weaver. I come to this conference as a student, eager to learn from all of you. In the Philippines, Ikat is practiced by some indigenous peoples throughout the archipelago. While the term may surface different understandings of technique that distinguish those from Indonesia, Southeast Asian, and other Southeast Asian countries, Philippine Ikat culture, it's still very much true that the practitioners from this island share an appreciation for resist dyeing. Warp Ikat, common to the Southeast Asia, also finds a home in the Philippines. The beautiful patterns and the intricate movements of harmony of elements that define these textiles are no doubt the reason why we have come together in celebration, pooling our curiosity and sharing insights with one another. Today, I would like to give you a glimpse of Ikat in the Philippines and focus on our experience in the Cordillera, adapted by Narda Kapuyan in her attempt to revive the practice and develop it for an audience that would value the tradition locally and abroad. Resist dyeing in the Cordilleras figures most prominently in the province of Ifugao. The term binudbud or the term munbudbud refers to the process of ikat dyeing and calls to mind all the blue and the black motifs woven into traditional fabrics of ritual importance. The figures look to have a three-dimensional quality about them. The dyed threads depict images of people and animals vertically flowing through the fabric. These forms appear in the ifugao, in ladang blankets, the gamit wraparounds, and the piniwag G-strings. South of the Philippines, the use of ikat is prominent among the Manobo, the Bagobo, Tiboli, Bulaan, Mandaya, and Subanan peoples. Rather than dyeing ikat threads, the technique is used to color abaca and banana fiber that is later woven into intricate patterns. Common among both the non-Islamized and the Islamized weaving communities were geometry and an innate mastery of mathematical sense is imbued in the weaving of Islamized Tausug and Maranao peoples. The ikat employing non-Islamized groups have also set themselves apart through the detailed, perplexing designs that they have produced. It is said that in order to achieve this, the weaver-creator must take a dose of enchantment to accept the necessity of being entranced in order to reflect through the loom the visions that the spirits have bestowed on them. It is on this note of enchantment that I introduce Narda Kapuyan's contributions to the revival and recognition of the Ikat technique in the Cordillera. As a native of Basao Mountain Province, Kapuyan's familiarity with weaving in the region developed through time, most especially when she transitioned from being a family planning counseling counseling Cordilleran mothers to becoming an entrepreneur. It was her business sense that allowed weavers in the region who were mostly mothers coming from rural mountain communities to be self-sustainable bearers of culture. Her efforts have also attracted that were similarly motivated to join her in the task of uplifting the weavers in the Cordillera. My mother's enchantment with Ikat thus began when a friend of hers, then working as a Peace Corps volunteer, came to teach her the process of tying and dyeing. She came to witness the technique in practice. It became easy for Mama to understand how Ikat in the Cordillera can be practiced by the Ifogaos. Knowing how to weave, but not always sitting behind the loom, made Narda come to appreciate the difficult and laborious process of loom weaving, while also seeing the possibilities of innovating on the method she currently employed. Combination of Ikat and traditional methods of weaving in the Cordillera then yielded a freshness and vividness to the new textiles that would come to be produced. Reverence was, it still afforded to the types of weaves done in traditional palette, especially as these were regarded to form part of solemn ceremonies. These traditional weaves carried with them the dignity of a people's identity. However, Ikat allowed Narda an opportunity to create and flex her creative muscles and experiment with color, create a line of wearables and home accessories. These proud Cordilleran products were valued by a domestic audience, especially as pasalubongs or gifts bestowed by Filipinos upon foreign visitors, and by internationals themselves who considered her products to be chic and fashionable, heirloom items to own, as the demand for the products grew along with increased recognition of uniquely Cordilleran weaves. The brand of Nardas came to have a resonance among Filipinos. In line with this panel's theme of examining Ikat usage, tradition, and beyond, allow me to reflect briefly on the lessons I have learned from my mother's enduring legacy. First, I have seen how traditions withstand the test of time so long as they are rooted in community. Is it enough for us to practice tradition without understanding its value and meaning to the people whom it belongs? I think not. Second, in the practice of Ikat and weaving itself, it is important to return the experience of the weaver. He or she carries the knowledge of the loom, learned from one's ancestors, carry value beyond the numbers of yards produced per day. As an entrepreneur, this is particularly striking to me because the temptation to see weavers as merely manufacturers of all things beautiful and sellable. There is more to them than this. They are artists in their own right. This leads me to my third point, a lesson I learned from my mother's openness to collaborate with others. The knowledge of Ikat, though practiced in the Cordillera by the Ifugao, was introduced to us by a foreigner. Had my mom clung too tightly to tradition, she would never allowed her creativity to flourish. It was her creative leap of faith that allowed Cordillera weaving traditions to evolve and eventually become highly regarded by our own. In this light, and inspired by my mother's example, the company has now decided to venture into a new line of products, Nardas Naturals. Under this line, The company retains the practice of traditional weaving, along with the knowledge of Ikat, but with this time, we have decided to create textiles using natural dyes and locally grown cotton and dye. We take inspiration from the environment and seek to foster stewardship of nature among our patrons. It is our belief that when traditions are rooted in communities, the evolution of culture benefits everyone. Thank you for allowing me this time to share a few insights on Ikat in the Cordilleras of the Philippines. If you believe, as we do, that culture carries with it the capacity to transform society, being it reminding people of their heritage or steering their sensitivity towards nature, then I would glad to be in touch. I look forward to working with all of you in the future. Thank you.
Our next item is a conversation between a designer and a weaver. The weaver cannot speak English, so the designer will ask him the question in Odia, and when he answers, she's going to translate it for us. Sarat Chandra Patra is a weaver who belongs to a traditional family in Nuapatna and learned the Ikat technique from his father, late Gopal Patra. He has been awarded the Sant Kabir Award by Government of India, Ministry of Textiles in 2015, the highest award in handlooms and the national award. Sarat Kumar Patra has produced some of the finest masterpieces in Ikat, including the Geet Govind Bashtra, where the entire verses of Geet Govind Kavya of Jayadev, the great poet of the 12th century, has been calligraphically woven on 52 meters of fabric. Other pieces include the Ashavatar Chondwa, where 10 incarnations of Lord Vishnu with verses of Geet Govind has been designed using Ikat technique as well as Kandarappa Rath. In his Bibha sari, the Bibha is a wedding sari. The whole Indian marriage ceremony has been designed in Ikat techniques using natural dyes in the woven textiles of the life of Buddha from birth to Nirvana has been woven in the Ikat technique also. Sarat Kumar Patra specializes in traditional process of lac dyeing. In addition, he has also revived natural dyeing processes using jackfruit wood. Now I'd like to talk about Gunjan Chen, who's a textile designer. She founded a company called Vriksh, which is a tree, in 2008. Her design studio based in Orissa specializes in regional hand-woven textiles and works with a team of weavers to bring contemporary aesthetics to traditional designs. The studio's collections have included experiments that reinterpreted the shibori technique on the loom as a woven tussar silk sari with the jala, a weaving technique. The Navagunjar series that reinterpreted Odisha's lost tapestry art in a khadi silk sari collection that was woven in fine tapestry weave with traditional patterning and motifs. The Dhalapatha revival of hand-woven tapestries in cotton, with the only 2 weavers left who have knowledge of this rare weave. The Bomkai cotton sari revival, with the remaining 4 weavers by bringing back lost motifs and contemporizing it by introducing new fabric textures and color palettes, are some of the several collections. An empaneled designer with the Ministry of Textiles, Government of India, Gunjan, has won several awards, including the Vogue India Fashion Fund 2016. Designer of the Year in Sari category, the weavers who work with her have also won several national and regional awards. Gunjan Chen received her education from Fashion Design and Technology, Nottingham Trent University, and Pearl Academy of Fashion, New Delhi. Over to Gunjan and Sarat Chandra. आप बैठ जाओ.
Maybe you can sit here, so we are near.
अपना सीधी बस ही जाना है तो
Like you are nearer to the mic.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Gulshan ji, for the introduction. I'm flattered. And I feel very fortunate to be here. Among the different styles of ikats found in India, Orissa ikat, locally known as bandho, is known for its very fine, curvilinear, thin lines. The perfect calculation of tie and dye of the threads enables the weaver to achieve the figurative motives and conversational designs with utmost accuracy, which Orissa is popular for. This also is the inherent reason for the existence of calligraphic ikats of Orissa, which we are going to discuss further. Krishna is one of the 10 avatars or the 10 incarnations of Vishnu. And in Orissan vocabulary, Jagannath is synonym of Krishna. 12th century poet Jayadev wrote the famous Geet Govind, as Gulshan ji pointed out, which is the song in praise of Krishna and Radha. It consists of 12 chapters, 24 songs, and 72 verses. He describes the relationship between Krishna and Radha on a physical level as well as spiritual level. It is the integration of religious, erotic, and aesthetic meaning, which is also the character of Krishna. Generally, Geet Govind is associated with the Ras Leela of Radha and Krishna and their love, as you can see on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side this is an 18th century palm leaf manuscript, where interestingly the entire Geet Govind takes on the shape of an Orissan temple facade, with the flag fluttering on the top, the 2 lions on either side, and of course Jagannath with his brother and sisters Balbhadra and Subhadra taking the central position. Radha is nowhere in sight, and not a single hint of eroticism appears, which says that Geet Govind is seen and presented as a devotional text and no more in Orissa now. Git Govind, being a very popular text, has been depicted in many forms, in the shape of a garland where different leaves have been strewn together in the form of the garland, as you can see on the left. The right in the form of bamboo leaves. Bottom left is in the shape of the palm leaf cut in the shape of a fish manuscript, because hinting on the coastal culture of Orissa. And the bottom right is the traditional palm leaf painted manuscript. I'd like to bring in, out of 2 lakh weavers in Orissa, 50% are Ikat weavers. And out of these 1 lakh weavers, only 100 weavers practice the art of calligraphy Ikat. And among us, we are very fortunate to have one of them, Mr. Sarat Chandra Patra.
ଆମର ନୂଆପାଟନାର ବାନ୍ଧ କଳା ହେଉଛି ବହୁତ ପୁରୁଣା। ପ୍ରଥମେ ଆମର ନକ୍ଷତ୍ରାବଳୀ ଆଉ ତା ଇଏ ଆମର ଖଣ୍ଡୁଆ ପାଟ ଆଉ କୁଞ୍ଜି ଫୁଲ ଏସବୁ ହେଉଥିଲା ବହୁତ ପୂର୍ବରୁ, ଯେଉଁଟାକି ଆମେ କେହି କହିପାରୁନା। ଯେଉଁମାନେ ଥିଲେ ଆମର ବୟସ୍କ ଲୋକ, ଯେଉଁମାନେ 100 ଉପରକୁ ବସିଥିଲେ, ସେମାନଙ୍କୁ ପଚାରିଥିଲେ, ସେମାନେ ବି କହିପାରିଲେ ନାହିଁ। କିନ୍ତୁ ତାପରେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଜୟଦେବ ଏ ଗୀତ ଗୋବିନ୍ଦ ଲେଖିଲେ, ସେତେବେଳେ ଜୟଦେବ ଚାହିଁଲେ ଯେ ଜଗନ୍ନାଥଙ୍କୁ କେମିତି ଅର୍ପଣ କରିବା ଏ ଗୀତ ଗୋବିନ୍ଦ। ସେତେବେଳର ଯେଉଁ ଗଜପତି ମହାରାଜ ଥିଲେ, ସେ ସେତେବେଳେ କହିଲେ ସେ ନୂଆପାଟନାର ଯେଉଁ କାରିଗରମାନେ ଜଗନ୍ନାଥଙ୍କୁ ଏଇ ପାଟ ବସ୍ତ୍ର ଅର୍ପଣ କରୁଛନ୍ତି, ତାଙ୍କୁ ହିଁ କହିଲେ ସେ ଅକ୍ଷରକୁ ଠିକ୍ ଭାବେ ଲେଖାଲେଖି କରି ଆମକୁ ଦେବେ, ଆମେ ଜଗନ୍ନାଥଙ୍କୁ ଅର୍ପଣ କରିବା। ତାପରେ ସେ ନୂଆପାଟନାରୁ ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଲା ସେ ଗୀତ ଗୋବିନ୍ଦ ଲେଖା। କିନ୍ତୁ ସେତେବେଳ ଟାଇମ୍ରେ ଆମେ 2 ଲାଇନ୍ ଲେଖିକି ତାକୁ ସେ ଶ୍ଲୋକଟା ଦିଆଯାଉଥିଲା ଜଗନ୍ନାଥଙ୍କୁ, ଯେଉଁଟାକି ଆମର ହେଉଛି କଂସାରୀ ରପି ସଂସାର ବାସନା ବଧ ଶୃଙ୍ଖଳା ରାଧା ମାଧାୟ ହୃଦୟ ତତ୍ୟାଜ ବ୍ରଜ ସୁନ୍ଦରୀ। ଏଇ ଯେଉଁ ଲାଇନ୍, ଏଇ 2 ଲାଇନ୍ଟା ଆମେ ଲେଖିକି ଜଗନ୍ନାଥଙ୍କୁ ଅର୍ପଣ କରାଯାଉଥିଲା। କିନ୍ତୁ ତାପରେ କିଛି ଦିନ ଗଲା ପରେ ଆମେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଏଇସବୁ ବାନ୍ଧ କଳାକୁ ଆମର ବାପା ଜେଜେବାପା ଏଇ ଅନୁସାରେ କାମ କରୁଥିଲେ।
I'm from Delhi, learned Orissa, Odia, moving to Orissa, so yeah, bear with me. So, Patra Babu says that Bandho, Ikat, as an art form is very, very old in Orissa, and according to him, there is actually no record of when it started. He believes that, like Edric said in the beginning, that in many regions it started on its own. It was one of those very natural forms of art forms that evolved in Orissa. Jayadev desired to offer his Geet Govind to the Jagannath temple, and so consulted with the king of Gajapati district, who suggested that fabric is the best form to offer Geet Govind to Jagannath deity, because it will come in direct contact with the deity. He also suggested that the fabric, which is called feta, should be woven in the Nuapatna district, where Patra Babu hails from, because the Maharaja believed that one of the finest weavers come from that area. And hence the Geet Govind was created in beautiful primary colors of red, green and yellow. Mate 10 ସପ୍ତାହର ଉପରେ ଟିକେ କିଛି କହନ୍ତୁ।
ଆମେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଏସବୁ ଗୀତ ଗୋବିନ୍ଦ ଲେଖିଲା ପରେ ଆମେ ଭାବିଲୁ ଜଗନ୍ନାଥକୁ କେମିତି ଆମର 10 ଅବତାର ସହିତ ଚିତ୍ର ଏବଂ ଲେଖା ସହିତ କେମିତି ଅର୍ପଣ କରିବା। କିନ୍ତୁ ଇଏ ତ ଅଙ୍ଗବସ୍ତ୍ର ଭାବେ ବ୍ୟବହାର କରାଯାଉଥିଲା ଶାଢ଼ୀ, ଇଏ ସବୁ ଆମର ଯେମିତି ଚାନ୍ଦୁଆ ହେଇକି ରହିବ ଉପରେ, ଜଗନ୍ନାଥଙ୍କ ଉପରେ ଚାନ୍ଦୁଆ ହେଇକି ରହିବ। ସେ 10 ଅବତାର ଚିତ୍ର ସହିତ ଆମର ଇଏ ପିସ୍ ରହିଛି, ଯେଉଁଟାକି ଦେଖାଇ ପାରିବେ ଆପଣମାନେ ସମସ୍ତେ।
The beauty is, imagine 12th century tradition is still alive. Thank you to people and master weavers like Patra Babu. The Orisian tradition continues to this day only because there is a direct cultural link to the Puri temple and other Jagannath temples. One set of Geet Gobind, Khandwa, consists of 15 pieces and is draped around the three deities during a ritual called Bada Shringhar Bheso in the Jagannath temple in Puri. This is a masterpiece created by Patra Babu. आप उधर लगा दो सीट नहीं वो ब्लॉक हो जाएगा अच्छा आगे आ जाओ
Oh my God.
This masterpiece depicts light on कर दो Patra Babu आपको pause. But you've hidden the hero.
It's okay.
Hero stays in front.
He has to move a little.
This masterpiece depicting the Das Avatar with verses from Geet Gobind. Patra Babu, would you like to express your thought and your creativity behind this piece? आपनो या ऊपर किछि कहंतु आपनो कोन भाबिले और केमती कोन कंटेम्पररी स्टाइल रे करिले एटा
आमर मिनिमम 2 पीक किंबा 4 पीक भितर बांध होछि नुआपन्नार जो प्रोसेस बा ओडिसार ई सब प्रोसेस किंतु अन्य सब राज्य रे बा अन्य जगह रे तार जो पीक रहउछि टिका अधिकार रहउछि 8 पीक 10 पीक ये सब प्रकार रहउछि किंतु आमर ये जो सूक्ष्म कला रहिछि 10 अवतार चित्र गोटे फूल भितर रहिछि देखंतु पद्म लोटस फूल भितर 10 अवतार चित्र एवं तार जो लेखाटा रही सीधा सीधा लेखिदेवाटा अति सहज किंतु ताको ये जो राउंड राउंड करके लिखा ये सब बहुत टेक्निक तार हिसाब बहुत अच्छी आ गोटे फूल भितर सब रही
It's one piece, yeah. So Patra Babu says that the lettering concept is unique to Orissa, but we've always seen it in a linear format. What he's done here is, along with the pictorial depiction of the Das Avatars, he has also managed to create the traversing path of the calligraphy. So it's interesting because Oriya script itself is very curvilinear. And then over that, he's also chosen a very beautiful garland-like shape for the path of the lettering, which is exquisite. No wonder it took him 3 years to finish one piece. Very interestingly, the area where Patra Babu comes from and the weavers of that village, Nuapatna, actually a lot of them are also Buddhists. And Patra Babu, आपनो टिके मते आपनो को गारे बुद्धिज्म ऊपरे किछि कहंतु और आपनो भी केमती बुद्धिस्ट अछंती और कोन पई ये करिले
आमर से नुआपन्ना अंचल रे बहुत बुद्धिस्ट बुणाकार अछंती सेति पई ये 10 अवतार भितर नवम अवतार बुध अवतार मते समस्ते बाध्य कले जे बुद्धंक ऊपर किसी गोटे करंतु तेणु बुद्धंकर जीवनी ऊपर टोटाल गोटे वाल हैंगिंग कली जोटा कि भारत सरकार मते संत कबीर अवार्ड भावे देई सम्मानित कले 2015 मसीह रे
The village Nuapatna he comes from was once a strong hub for Buddhism, and even his family follows Buddhism. And that's why he has been, in his contemporary versions of the calligraphy Ikat and pictorial depictions, has expressed Buddha and life of Buddha in different forms. And he also won the highest honor, Sant Kabir Award, in 2015, which you have to see in the gallery. It's there on the left-hand side, just when you enter straight down in Bikaner House. Buddha is also known to be the 9th avatar of Vishnu, and hence the connection with Orissa. Good. Dikha. Patra Babu has attempted to again revisit the connection of Geet Govind with Krishna and Radha's Ras Leela, and here he has worked on natural dyes, as Gulshanji mentioned earlier. His expertise in this piece, where he's used lark to dye the beautiful pink and jackfruit for the beautiful golden yellow. And please do not miss the such fine pencil-like, curves that Orissa is what is known for. Patra Babu, what are your thoughts about the changes that have come about in Orissa Ikat over the years? Do you think the contemporary language of today's Orissa Ikats have been able to preserve the cultural context of the region? And what are the new directions do you think we can imagine calligraphy Ikat today? आपणकर कौन भावना अच्छी और कौन भावुचंती आपण के आजिकरी जो ओडिशा एकत होउची सेटा नुआ नुआ प्रकार अच्छी तो सेटा आमको आमरो जो निजे ओडिशा संस्कृति अच्छी सेटा को बंचिकी रखी चंती कि सेठी दरकार एट ऑल कि सेटा आमे छाड़ी की पूरा मॉडर्न स्टाइल करी होबो और गुटे कथा आगु को आपण कौन भावुचंती कि एटा एमती ए कला को आमे आगु को केमती नहीं जाई पारिबा
आमर जो पारंपरिक कला सहित किछि नुआ मॉडर्न देई ताको आजिकल मार्केट रे जहाँ चाहूची से अनुसार तैयारी कले जे कि चलिबो सेति पारंपरिक कलाटा को बंचाई रखिया को हबो ता सहित हमर आजिकल जो विभिन्न प्रकार धरंतु बेड कवर हो डोर स्क्रीन हो फर्निशिंग हो ये विभिन्न प्रकार आइटम सब तैयारी करिया को पड़िबो कारण आजिकल बाजार जो प्रकार चाहूची आ पुराना जिनस को छाड़िया को पड़िबोनी कारण पुराना आमर जो साड़ी जो पारंपरिक डिजाइन पारंपरिक सब जो रंग सेटा को किसी बंचाई रखा पड़ो कारण ताकू छाड़ीदे तो आम कि आमर भैल्यू ना से आम सब चेष्टा करुचु जे नुआ नुआ पिला सब शिक्षा दी जाऊँगी जे पारंपरिक जिनिस सहित आमर नुआ कि मार्केट रे चलो से अनुसार तैयारी करने आम चेष्टा करुचु.
Yes, it is important to preserve the cultural significance of Orissan Ikats in design, but at the same time, he says it is important to reinterpret it into contemporary ideas today. It could be in the form of new design layouts, like you saw in his work, using different yarns as different products like apparels and home furnishings. Also in his work, he says the contemporary aspect was reintroducing natural dyes. But in all of these experiments, it is important that the technique of fine ikat should be retained. And the technique what he's talking about is that Orissa, which earlier he mentioned, that is known that it doesn't tie more than 2 to 4 threads. And because they tie such few threads to do their ikat, that's why you get those really fine pencil-like curves. And he says, you know, even if you want to change the very design language today because the market demands, make sure that if it is coming from Orissa, it retains that fineness or that identity of the fine curves of Orissa. I'm taking inspiration from Patra Babu as a urban designer with my urban sensibilities and the expertise of the calligraphy Ikat. We synergize together to create a completely new text of popular Hanuman Chalisa in natural dye. keeping in mind Weaver's familiarity and identity with the text and his devotional zeal towards it. So when we talk about calligraphy, Ikat, it's always very much linked to the devotional aspect to the Jagannath religion. So this was an experiment that we did where we would keep intact the weaver's devotional zeal towards weaving a calligraphic ikat, but we introduced a completely new text, which is also comes from our tradition, the Hanuman Chalisa, which is 40 verses written in, woven in ikat in natural dye, and the color comes from catechu. So all over the world, be it temples, churches, sculptures, paintings, it is the single-minded devotion of the artist, like Patra Babu, that such masterpieces are created. Thank you so much.
And now for question answers from all the three. Yeah.
My question is to Patra Babu and Gunjan. In Odisha there is another tradition of tie-dye ikat, which is called as Sarpabandha. Is that practiced by you? And why is it is not out in a public domain? Should I repeat what I said? In Odisha, my recording bata do. In Odisha, there is another tradition of ikats, which is called as Sarpabandha, which has figures, which has mandalas, and which also has mantras. Is that also practiced by you? And why is it not so widely known as other? Thank you.
सप्तबंधन सेटा होची नागबंध जो नागबंध सेटा होची हमर मंडल सब मंडल सेटा होची हमर जो राम आ सीतांकर जो स्टोरी सेटा हमर कवि सम्राट उपेंद्र भंज ओडिशार सम्राट कवि तांकर ए सब काव्य अछि सेटा होची हमर कोन दीप से एटा हमर नागबंध पद्मबंध सर्पबंध इनते सब गछबंध विभिन्न प्रकार बंध अच्छी बंध मतलब से लेखाटा थिबो ता साथी चित्र थिबो ये चित्रटा ता भितर रही सेटा गोटे गणित पाठ आज्ञा माने एथुरु किछि कम अक्षर से थिबो किंतु आपण पढ़िबा को गले से ये एठी जहा पढ़िबे सेटा से या पढ़िबे से ता भितर सेटा गोटे गणित पाठ अछि रामायण स्टोरी राम सीतांकर स्टोरी नागबंध सेटा होची हमरा
So Nagabandha is the story of Ram and Sita, written by Upendra Bhanja, Upendra Bhanja, and it again has been woven traditionally in a combination of pictorial with calligraphic ikat. He does not practice it today because he's been, contemporizing his own styles of ikats in calligraphy and pictorial style.
That's not what we have.
And also he says that in Nagabandhu there's a lot of calculations involved, just as a characteristic of it. But no, he does not practice it today.
वैदेश विलास से काव्यर नाम अछि वैदेश विलास
The name of the story is Boides Bilaso.
ଚିତ୍ରବନ୍ଧ କାବ୍ୟଦେବ ବୈଦସ୍ୟ ବିଳାସ ଚିତ୍ରବନ୍ଧ କାବ୍ୟଦେବ ତାର ସେ ଷ୍ଟୋରି
Chitrabandho Kabyadev is the complete name of the story.
You wanted to ask a question.
Two small questions. There is one Vrindavani Vastra we know, in which the depiction of all deities, Krishna avatar, all 10 are given on a piece. Is that similar to that? That is one question. And the other question to our first speakers, that Cordillera is a mountain range, I am told. And is it the name of a place in Philippines, or it's also a name of a fish? Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Cordilleras refer to the mountain areas in Luzon.
But
But
I
Baguio
want,
is where they are based.
I want to ask a question. Where is the original piece of the Eid Govind? Where is the original piece that was my father?
से पचारी जयंती की जो प्रथम पीस ହେଇଥିଲା ମାନେ ଆରମ୍ଭ जो पीसेस ହେଇଥିଲେ ଗୀତ ଗୋବିନ୍ଦ से ସେଇଟା ଏବେ को ପାଖରେ ଅଛି ସେ ମନ୍ଦିର ଅଛି
ସେ କଥା ତ କହିପାରିବୁନି ଆମେ କିନ୍ତୁ ଆମ ପାଖରେ ଯେଉଁ ପୁରୁଣା କପଡ଼ା ଅଛି 500-600 ବର୍ଷ ତଳର କପଡ଼ା କିଛି ଆମେ ରଖିଛୁ
अच्छा आपनो से ट्रेडिशन कहूँ जो आपनो प्रति वर्ष काढ़ुचंती पूजा करबा ପାଇଁ ସେଇଟା को
ଗୀତ ଗୋବିନ୍ଦ ତ ପ୍ରତିଦିନ ଜଗନ୍ନାଥ ପିନ୍ଧୁଛନ୍ତି ବଡ଼ ସିଂହାର ବେଶ ଯେଉଁ ଅଛି ସେଥିରେ ସବୁଦିନ ମାନେ ଶେଷକୁ ଆମର ଗୀତ ଗୋବିନ୍ଦ ବସ୍ତ୍ର ପିନ୍ଧିବେ ଏବଂ ବଡ଼ ସିଂହାର ବେଶ ହେବ ଆଉ ଆମର ଦେବଦାସୀ ନୃତ୍ୟ ହେବ ତାପରେ ପହଡ଼ ହେବ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କର ସେଇଟା ସବୁଦିନ ଚାଲିଛି କଣ୍ଟିନ୍ୟୁଅସ୍ କିନ୍ତୁ କେବେ ହେଇଥିଲା ସେ ଯେଉଁ ସେ ସମୟର କପଡ଼ା ଆମେ ଏବେ ପାଇବୁନି କିନ୍ତୁ ଆମ ପାଖରେ ଅଛି ଯେଉଁଟାକି ଆମେ ବୟସ୍କ ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କଠୁ ବୁଝିଥିଲୁ ଆମ ବାପା ଜେଜେବାବାଙ୍କଠୁ ଆମେ ରଖିଛୁ 500-700 ବର୍ଷ ତଳର କପଡ଼ା ବି କିଛି ଆମେ ମନ୍ଦିରରୁ କଲେକ୍ସନ୍ କରିକି ରଖିଛୁ
So he's saying that he does not, of course, he's not aware whether the original pieces survive because we're talking about 800 years back almost. And also, as per the current tradition, and as per the current tradition, every day in the Puri temple, the Geet Gobind, it's the night ceremony called the Bada Shringhar Bhaso, where every night so every night the Geet Gobind Feta, it's offered and Jagannath is around it. He though has some of the old pieces, old to 500 years old, that he, was given and he's preserved from his generations, which he's planning to also set up a museum in his village to make sure that, those old pieces are shown to people and, knowledge is not kept with him and rather shared with everybody.
Rajan wants to ask a question.
My question is addressed to Edricon. You mentioned a Hornbill festival. Yes? In Nagaland, a new festival has been created which is called the Hornbill festival. And there is some connection between the Nagas and the Batak. Is anything known about this?
Well, our Batak friend is here, Verdi. Verdi, are you around? Okay. Well, the Hornbill effigy, as you saw in the photograph, which is a wood carving representative of Singgalang Burong, which is the main chief god of the traditional religion, right? So it is Gawai Burong. Burong means bird. So it was in the old days Gawai Burong, which was a ritual festival to to prepare the warriors of the community before they went out on a headhunting expedition. What has happened now is that if you are a modern day warrior, you are in the army, you're in the air force, you are in the navy, you are then conferred on as the modern day warrior. You come back from your term of duty, and if you have been successful, you will have a gawai burong done in your honor. So the community honors you during such a gawai burong. This is how the transference from the old tradition. No longer you go and take heads, you may go and shoot a few people dead in a war, but you come back and you're still respected as the modern day hero, and the gawai burong is done.
So whether you've hunted a head or not is not important.
Well, it's the modern day hero, isn't it? That you're honored being a war hero because you've been to a battle. But the Batak tradition, I'm unfamiliar. But there is some kind of similarities in cultural practice between the Nagas and the Ibans, as well as with the Taiwan in Taiwan. And if you are talking about the Austronesian, you need to go to the Museum of Prehistory in southern Taiwan, known as Taitung. In the town and city of Taitung, there is a museum of prehistory where excavations has been done, and they trace that a lot of the Polynesians, including the New Zealander natives, and maybe some of our Bornean people, have originated from this place in Taitung. The excavation sites, archaeological sites are there, and scholars have already confirmed that there is a certainty of connection. Taitung, Museum of Prehistory. You can Google it.
मैम आजिकली पावर लूम जिते प्रकार सब आइटम बाहर ताकू कंपिटिशन करने को बहुत कष्ट किंतु आमर ओडिशार जो बांध कलार जो सूक्ष्म कारुकार्य ताकू पावर लूम रे करवा एत सहज नुह से ओडिशा कला किसी बंची रही से तो देखु ये जो फाइन ये फाइन कला को पावर लूम रे करवा संभव नुह
So what he's saying is that one important point that he would want to highlight is that he forgot to mention earlier is that today Pavaloon has been, and with modern technology, we've been seeing that there's been a lot of fabrics and textiles that have, are in the market in the name of handloom. And again, he highlights the fact that the sukma kam, that means the very fine work of handloom, today, luckily in Ikat has, luckily in Ikat, especially in Weft, walk mein to fir bhi right now, Pavaloom has started weaving, unfortunately, Ikats and selling as handloom fabrics. He says it's not far, but he is also hopeful that in the Weft Ikat, Pavaloom will not take over the market and sell them as handlooms. So he's saying, so we have to be even more careful of the kind of work we are doing today, and we have to preserve these kind of art forms and fine ikats, because this is where Pavaloom can never take over.
We've had a very interesting session with Edric telling us all about the spirits leaving the body at night. Well, do they still do it?
Come back.
And of course, Lucia Lucia came to life just because Edric wanted her to. That's interesting. And of course, we like the new colors, the unfermented indigo and the medicinal yellow. And of course, I think Sarat Patra was absolutely great. And Gunjan translated it so well, we could all understand. We could all understand what he's trying to say.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, Gulshan ji, for being a great chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Sensei.
Tea is served, and we will come back in 20 minutes.
Yes, yes. I will tell you now, email.
अभी आपका बारी है. आप हिंदी में बोलेंगे, अंग्रेजी में बोलेंगे, क्या बोलेंगे? Thank you so much.
सेंट्रल क्वालिटी की तरफ से माता के साथ आपका भी इन्वॉल्वमेंट है
क्या?
पहले रुमाल डेवलप होने के लिए
अभी तो मैं बूढ़ा हो गया.
पहले आप भी आया था, पहले रुमाल को सपोर्ट किया, मेरा भाई बनाता था ना, टाइम में आप भी सपोर्ट किया, पहले रुमाल सेंट्रल गार्डन में लेता था.
क्या करें बताओ?
मेरा बात में आप भी मदद किया बोलने का है.
नहीं, वो तो ठीक है, मगर अब क्या करें?
तो अच्छा चल रहा है, सब लोग आप लोगों का खुद से अच्छा चल रहा है.
Good afternoon. I hope you've had a good cup of tea or coffee and a good lunch. Yeah. So now we are into session 3, which is innovating within tradition. And our chairperson this afternoon is our president of the World Crafts Council Asia Pacific region, Dr. Gada. She's a Dr. Gada holds a PhD in the history of Islamic art and architecture from Harvard University, Massachusetts. Her dissertation was published by the Harvard University Press, and in 2004, she was invited by the same university for a postdoctoral fellowship. She also holds a bachelor degree in economics, a master's degree in Arabic literature from the American University of Beirut, as well as a bachelor degree in finance from the Lebanese American University in Beirut. Her professional experience before retirement in 2002, she's not retired yet, is she? Includes being director of the Department of Research and Cultural Studies at the National Council for Culture, Arts and Letters in Kuwait, Deputy Director for Cultural Affairs in the Department of Antiquities and Museums at the Kuwait National Museum, the Curator of the Islamic Museum Dar al-Athar-e-Islamiyya from 1983 to 1990. She was President of World Crafts Council Asia Pacific region in the past term of 2013 through 16, during which she initiated the third flagship APR project of the online encyclopedia on crafts in the Asia Pacific region, which will be launched, I think, within the next month or two. At the end of the past term, she was re-elected for her second current term 2017 and 2020. During her presidency, Dr. Gada has been involved in preparing, organizing, and participating in symposiums, workshops, conferences, board meetings, exhibitions, and handicraft events with around 80 diversified participations in Asia-Pacific region countries. Extensively published in encyclopedias, periodicals, and journals, she has also translated a number of specialized books and articles on art and archaeology. Her publications include Variety in Unity, Entries in Islamic Art and Patronage Treasures from Kuwait, translation and study of the book. Articles, Yakut. Her long list of awards and achievements includes Gulf Cooperation Council Award for Achievements in the Field of Antiquities, Dubai, Lebanese American University Award of Achievement, Beirut, Lebanon, Award of Achievement for Prominent Services of Kuwait National Museum, to awards and certificates of appreciation from China, Iran, Taiwan, Kuwait, among others. I have great honor to present to you Dr. Gada, who's as a chairperson of this session, and we are very thankful that she's here today to be with us. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I hope you are not as exhausted as myself after such a long. I just would like to say that before introducing the speakers, my colleagues, I want first to thank Mrs. Ritu for inviting me to chair this session here in this symposium.
Please speak into the mic. Can't hear you.
Is it working?
Yes. I hope so.
So, while the speakers in the morning sessions were restricted to the boundaries of Asia-Pacific region, the current session goes beyond our borders, as we have two participants from New Mexico, from the United States of America, Miss Amanda Spears and Mr. Dane Daller. They are also sandwiched between two Asia-Pacific region Indian speakers. One belongs to the weaving technique, Telia Romal, and the other, Mr. Gajam Gavardhan. Please, if I don't pronounce your names properly, to excuse me. And the other comes from an academic background, the researcher, Dr. Vandana Pandari. Two of our speakers, Mrs. Spear and Amanda Spear and Mr. Dane, will discuss their own purely new and non-traditional Ikat. No wonder they come from the New World. The other one sticks to tradition, Mr. Gajam, and the third, Dr. Vandana, she wavers between. She discusses traditional Ikat being used in a new contemporary look. So a lot has been said on Ikat types, last night and this morning, and we all enjoyed Mrs. Jaslyn and Mr. Edric introductory session on this. And then we really gained a lot from the other speakers, each of whom discussed one country in details, which was very, very informative. So in our session, we will deal with specific types, Telia Rumal, and then the warp, Ikat, yeah. And then we will have some research on your research. Mrs. Ritu, of course, she is going to have a conversation with Mr. Gajan, and we are going to, I'm sure you must have very good questions to him, which will augment our knowledge on Ikat. So please, but you did not send me your CV. She sent me all the CVs of others, but not her own CV. But I think because she is well known, she doesn't need to be introduced to you. You all know her.
Thank you, Gada. Well, the Ikat textile map spreads south, and we are fortunate to have with us today one of the great masters of the Deccan weave, Sri Gacham Govardhan, who is sitting on my right. Before I start my conversation with Govardhanji, I want to say that we have worked on this presentation together. So I will be asking him his questions in Hindi, and I will also translate what he says for the international audience. But before the questions start, I want to go over a very brief historical background of Ikat weaving in Andhra and Telangana to just set the stage. I start with a brief historical overview. In the 1860s, John Forbes Watson, an agent of the British Raj, was tasked to identify and catalogue textile products from across the country. He collated over 800 textile swatches that were, in his words, to be used as a portable industrial museum, as they would serve as a basis of what is wanted and what is to be copied. Further elaborating that this exercise would make a magnificent customer of British Palu manufacturers, as it would double the volume of Lancashire and other British textile production mills, because the demand in India for these exquisite textiles was so high. Forbes Watson's words were prescient, as this did serve its purpose, and many regional techniques and specialities vanished, and uncounted numbers in the weaver community suffered grievous loss. However, there was an unintended fallout, and we can take some cold comfort that as Forbes Watson had followed a thorough and painstaking methodology of classification, these textile swatches now serve us as a guide to mid-19th century Indian textile history, and include some extremely fine samples of yarn-dyed Ikat textiles of the vanished tradition from the Deccan. So I'm just quickly going to show you what existed in 1860 in the Deccan, and which he termed as mushroom. Our next glimpse is from June 1955 in the inaugural volume of the Journal of Indian Textile History, published under the aegis of the Calico Museum, a research article by the then chairperson of the All India Handloom Board, Pupul Jekar, titled A Neglected Group of Indian Ikat Textiles. Her research was based in Pochampalli, and she wrote about the Pagdu Bandhu technique, or the Telia Rumal, for which this region has come to be known. At that time, there were 150 weavers in Pochampalli. She traced the start to two brothers, Malia and Venkaya, she wrote Karmakad, but Govardhanji said to me it was Karnati family, who came from Chirala to Pochampalli at the turn of the 1900s and introduced the technique. The production then was largely of square kerchiefs in the sizes of approximately 36 to 42 inches or 1 meter, woven in 40s and 60s count cotton, produced in lengths of 8 squares. Usually geometric patterns, you can see the colors. And we all know that the term Telia came from the heavy use of oil or tel in the processing, and the word rumal referred to its size. Exported across Africa, the Gulf countries, and the Middle East, it was used singly or in pairs. Used by village headmen, the police patel, mali patel, and sarpanch as a turban cloth, and by fishermen and others who draped it as a lungi or waist cloth or used it as a shoulder cloth. This is a picture again from Mrs. Jaker's article in the Indian Journal. Mrs. Jaker stated that the Telia Rumals of Chirala and Pochampalli deserve recognition as an important part of the Ikat weaving tradition. She ended her essay with the statement, "If the present account makes them known to students of Indian textile history, its main purpose will have been achieved." The next chapter unfolds in the late 50s and early 60s when Kamla Devi Chattopadhyay, chairperson of the All India Handicrafts Board, called Hastakala Ma, or Mother of All Handicrafts, visited Pochampalli. This was the point, and I think Jasleen accompanied her. This was a point when the tide slowly turned, as Kamla Devi ji and Pupul ji and Jasleen ji and the other members of the team convinced the weavers to extend their square format to that of a 6-yard sari in a continuous patterned weave. 3 saris were made at the princely cost of 120 rupees and supplied to Central Cottage Industries. The connect continued over the years and expanded to include home furnishings and yardage, and as demand developed, the All India Handicrafts Board sent 2 skilled weavers to Banaras to be trained in silk weaving and the technique of inserting the zari to open up the market at the upper end. Govardhan ji was born in 1949. So my first question to him is, what he remembers of the 60s and the 70s, and if his father, Shri Gajam Veraya, also a master weaver, shared any stories.
सबको नमस्कार। ये तेलिया रुमाल वस्त्र जो बुनाई होता था एक्चुअली आंध्रा गुंटूर डिस्ट्रिक्ट चीराला में, वो धीरे धीरे उधर का बदल गया। ये काम करना बंद हो गया, पूरा बंद हो गया। बंद होने के बाद इधर हमारा डिस्ट्रिक्ट में थोड़ा थोड़ा विदाउट डिजाइन का रुमाल बनाता था, सेम कलर कॉम्बिनेशन विदाउट इक्कत, स्क्वायर स्क्वायर बनाता था। वो लोकल मार्केट के लिए होता था। वो बंद होने के कारण जो बॉम्बे से बाहर से जो बायर्स है, ये रुमाल का शैम्पल्स लेके हमारा गांव में आता था। वो टाइम में मेरा फादर, मेरा ब्रदर और गांव में कुछ लोग काम जानने वाला, ये थोड़ा थोड़ा डिजाइन का रुमाल बनाना चालू किया। जैसा जैसा 1965 तक विदाउट इक्कत स्मॉल मोटिव इक्कत बनाना चालू हो गया। बाद में थोड़ा बड़ा बड़ा डिजाइन ऐसा, थोड़ा हमारा जैसा यंग जनरेशन, मेरा भाई का साथी लोग जो गांव में है, वो थोड़ा थोड़ा मोटिव अभी जो उसमें बताया था सिंपल थिंग्स वो बन रही। बाद में कमला देवी चट्टोपाध्याय ने जो पोचमपल्ली विजिट किया 1958 में, ये पोचमपल्ली इक्कत देखा है। पोचमपल्ली का एक बड़ा नाम है, फर्स्ट भूदानोद्यम इन इंडिया। वो हिसाब से सब लोग आता था उधर पोचमपल्ली में। वो देखने के बाद ये इक्कत को बढ़ाने के लिए उधर से 2 वीवर को बनारस भेजा है। सिल्क नहीं था हमारा रीजन में, जब तक सिल्क नहीं था, वो सिल्क को सिखाने के लिए भेज दिया। ये तेलिया रुमाल को जो चीराला में बनता था उसको डेवलप करने के लिए कुछ पुशिंग दिया है, वो वीवर्स को कुछ मदद किया। बाद में 1970, 75, 80 तक ऐसा छोटा छोटा होता था, चिटकी बोलता था उधर लोकल। पोचमपल्ली में सिल्क साड़ीज बनाना भी चालू हो गया। बाद में जब भी ये तेलिया रुमाल का 1975 में मैं चीराला जाके कुछ 1-2 हफ्ता स्टडी किया है, ये कैसा डिजाइन से बनाता था, कैसा कलर कॉम्बिनेशन, कैसा यारन प्रोसेस करता है बोल के स्टडी करने के बाद, अब ट्रांसलेट करेंगे पूरा बोलना। पूरा स्टडी करके ये वीवर सर्विस सेंटर में हम चालू किया तेलिया रुमाल को रिवाइज करने के लिए। ऐसा मोटिव्स अच्छा रिजल्ट आया। 1980 में 3-4 पीस अच्छा वाला बनाया। वो टाइम में पपुल जयकर, मार्तांड सिंह, जसलीम दमेजा मैडम, ये सब लोग देख लिया। ये 1983 में ओके।
So, what Govardhan ji says is that in the 60s and the 70s, and in the 60s, the work done in his village of Puttupaka, he comes from Puttupaka, they made the kerchief, but it was usually unpatterned. It was in Chirala that the ikat was being woven. And as the tradition spread, he feels at that time Chirala went down and the tradition slowly started coming to Puttupaka, and it came in a single weft only, and it was very limited, the motif, and they called it chitki. And the picture is right here of the chitki. And and they made squares. In 1965, the small ikat motif came, and his brother Ramaluji, Sri Ramaluji, who is unfortunately no more, and his father started work on it. Then Kamla Devi visited Pochampally. She hadn't yet come to Puttupaka in 1958, and therefore the skill in Pochampally went up. Silk got introduced. There was still then no silk in their entire area. They only wove in cotton, and only 40s and 60s cotton was woven. And they helped to improve the situation. Govardhan ji himself joined the Weaver Service Center. He got a government job. He joined Vijayawada in 1975. So in 1975, as part of being at the Weaver Service Center, he went to study the technique in Chirala and Pochampally. He understood the technique and he brought it back to his village, where he explained the whole technique to his family, and that is when you see the incredible entrepreneurial energy and the desire to push the boundaries. He introduced it there, and that is when the slow steps started. So now we finish with the 60s and 70s. I'm going to briefly introduce the 80s, and then he will explain to us what happened in the 80s. Okay, so the second part of the Deccan Ikat developments was initiated in the early 1980s, when Martand Singh was curator of the Calico Museum and design head of the Vishwakarma Textile Explorations. He visited Puttupaka. He met with Govardhanji and his family, who at that time had 2 looms, on which they were still weaving telias in 40s and 60s cotton that was now being sold for 120 rupees for 8 squares. The socio-economic circumstance of the weavers was quite hand to mouth. Govardhanji was at that time working at the Weaver Service Center. He had moved from Vijayawada now to Hyderabad. He moved to Hyderabad in 1979. Under the tutelage of Martand Singh and Sri Redaya, who was deputy director of the Weaver Service Center and who is no more, he and his older brother Sri Ramalu worked on the Telia Rumal developments that were exhibited at the Master Weavers in 1983 in London. Their skills and those of the others involved demonstrated that the very best of museum pieces could be replicated. For this, Govardhanji and his brother were awarded a national award by the President of India in 1983. I'll show you some pictures, and then Govardhanji will tell you about the night. This is what they produced from 40s and 60s cotton. This is what they produced for the Master Weaver.
Width 19 inches.
Yeah. And this is Govardhanji's write-up when he got the national award, and this is his brother Sri Ramalu. So Govardhanji will now tell us about the 80s, about the Master Weaver.
आप लोग जो पीसेस देखा पहले, ये पीसेस नेचुरल कलर्स में, जो ओल्ड डेज का जो केमिकल नहीं था, वो टाइम में जो जैसा बनाया चीराला में, ऐसा ही हम प्रोड्यूस किया. इसका विड्थ है 90 इंचेस विड्थ, 108 लेंथ. ये नीचे वाला तो साड़ी है, ऊपर का दोनों बेड स्प्रेड जैसा बनाया था। ये पीस फेस्टिवल ऑफ इंडिया लंदन में शो में रखा है, इसके साथ कुछ सारीस भी रखा है। 1983 लंदन एग्जीबिशन, बाद में फेस्टिवल ऑफ इंडिया न्यूयॉर्क, बाद में फेस्टिवल ऑफ इंडिया टोक्यो, फेस्टिवल ऑफ इंडिया डेनमार्क, ऐसा कुछ सब कंट्री में एक 5 साल में कम से कम 6-7 कंट्री में हमारा गवर्नमेंट तरफ से, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने एग्जिबिट किया है। ये करने के बाद बहुत इंक्वायरीज आया, ऐसा एक छोटा गांव में ऐसा काम भी होता है बोल के इंक्वायरी आने के बाद इसके ऊपर सबको सिखाने के लिए ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम, और इसमें कन्वर्ट किया। अभी तक थैलिया रुमाल ओनली स्क्वायर पीस टर्बन इस्तेमाल होता था। 1985 से इसमें साड़ी में ये डिजाइंस, यही कलर कॉम्बिनेशन ब्लैक एंड वाइट, रेड, मैरून जो है यही कलर्स में ऑयल ट्रीटमेंट के साथ साड़ीस में, दुपट्टा में कन्वर्ट किया है। कन्वर्ट करने के बाद विश्वकर्मा एग्जीबिशन 1985 इन दिल्ली, बहुत बड़ा एग्जीबिशन।
So he says all these pieces were made with natural dyes because at that time they had gone back to making, they were using chemical dyes, but they went back to natural dyes in the family. The pieces you see on the top are not kerchief size, they're actually 90-inch widths like bedspreads. The bottom is a sari. And it was shown in London, and in 5 years the family, him and his brother, travelled across 5 countries showing, demonstrating and showing their craft. And people were amazed that in this little village of Putupaka, this is the kind of work being done there. And they got many inquiries and many orders, and they started making a range of products. And as he said to me when we were talking yesterday, he said our golden period started. Now we come to the next stage, which is the second, the Vishwakarma range, where explorations went beyond. If you notice that the pieces we saw earlier stayed within the tradition and the traditional color palette. In the second stage of the Vishwakarma range, explorations went beyond tradition, pushing skills and techniques to the maximum. From a relatively limited design repertoire, the markers of the Telia Rumal were raised. And that included experimentations that he will explain. But this is on a 72-inch loom, 90-inch loom, where they actually use zari in the warp and Ikat dyed silk. It's unfortunate we don't have a piece here, but can you imagine how it glinted and how it looked? Before you knew it, they were supplying to the most high-end buyers across the globe. This is something that was developed for Shamahuja, and you can see the color palette changed completely. Peaches, pinks, silk tussar combinations, and then of course for the Japanese. And not just any designer, but Issei Miyake himself, who in 1983 came with the Miyake design team to India to work with textiles on the invitation of Popeljaker, who was by then the advisor to the Prime Minister Indira Gandhi and the prime mover of the Festival of India. Miyake, besides producing for his own collection on Ikat, worked on developments that culminated in the huge exhibition and fashion show in 1985 in the Musée des Arts Décoratifs in Paris, the Textile Museum in Lyon, followed by an exhibition. And you see some of the Issei Miyake pieces.
All this black and white, white and black. इसमें स्क्वायर, राउंड,
अब गोवर्धन जी will tell you what he did.
लाइंस, 4 डिजाइंस। जैसा विश्वकर्मा एग्जीबिशन 1985 में दिल्ली में होने के बाद पूरा हमारा इंडिया में, दिल्ली में जो लाइक करता है हैंडलूम को सबको मालूम हो गया ये हमारा हैदराबाद में आज बाज ऐसा तैयार होता है बोल के। बाद में 85 से 95 तक इसका बहुत डिमांड बढ़ा है। रुमाल नाम से साड़ी, दुपट्टा, ड्रेस मटेरियल सब कुछ कन्वर्ट हो गया डिजाइंस। हमने ये और लोग, बहुत लोग गांव में, पोचमपल्ली में, पुटपा का सब गांव में मिक्स मैच करके बनाने का बहुत मार्केटिंग हो गया। बाद में ये जापान का जो डिजाइनर आया था, ओनली ब्लैक एंड वाइट, ये डिजाइन स्क्वायर, ट्रायंगल, राउंड, लाइंस वाला डबल इकत कॉटन में इसमें ये 1985 में चालू हुआ ये 4 डिज़ाइन, अभी तक ये 15-20 ईयर्स अभी तक इसमें चेंज नहीं है। ये चलते रहता है, सब गांव में है ये, किधर भी देखो सब डिजाइनर बोलता है मेरा डिजाइन है मेरा डिजाइन है, लेकिन किसी का नहीं है, उनका डिजाइन है ये सब अभी एक फैशन है ऐसा हो गया। लेकिन उनका ब्लैक एंड वाइट, इसके अलावा बहुत डिजाइन आया वो भी चल रहा है, लेकिन इनका तो ये क्लासिक डिजाइन है ये ऐसा। ये गोल्डन पीरियड 1985-1995 ये फेस्टिवल ऑफ इंडिया रूप से जो काम मिला है वीवर्स को सब जगह में, बहुत अच्छा रिजल्ट था। बाद में एक 95 से 2000 तक थोड़ा डल गया, उसमें चेंजिंग अभी थैली और रुमाल को लेके सारीस ड्रेस में।
Sorry. So when the Japanese came, they introduced a triangle, a square, a round and lines in black and white and black. This was such an incredible golden period that till now these designs continue unchanged. And he says, while everyone in that region is weaving this and they say this is ours, it's not, it's theirs. And they carry on and on doing the same thing, and it's expanded beyond everything. Now, and you can imagine what an international show it was, that he was covered on the Time magazine in January 27, 1986, having come to the village in 1983, and from that period, from 83 to 86, what a huge exposure there was. I think this was the first time an Asian designer was on the Time magazine cover. अब गोवर्धन जी, इतना हुआ पास्ट में, अब 1980s के बाद आपने अपने आप क्या इनोवेशंस किया, क्या बदलाव आया है आपके काम में?
जैसा रुमाल से लेके सारी दुपट्टा जैसा डेवलप हुआ ड्रेस मटेरियल, अभी वो पैटर्न को सिल्क में कन्वर्ट किया है। सिल्क में भी अच्छा चल रहा है। सिल्क के बाद उसमें अभी सिल्क फाइबर जितना डिफरेंट मिलता है, जैसा वूल मिलता है, जो लाइक्रा में बनाया वो फैशन शो के लिए, फिर बाद में अभी लिनिन में बना रही, एरी सिल्क में बना रही, लेकिन इसका कॉटन का ब्यूटी तो नया रही, लेकिन हम चेंजेस तो कर रही। अभी का डिमांड अच्छा है, लेकिन सब लोग अभी बोलना शुरू किया, कोई भी डिजाइन को तेले रुमाल बोल रही। पहले तेले रुमाल बोले तो समझ में नहीं आता था, अभी भी समझ में नहीं है, लेकिन तेले रुमाल आई क्या पूछता है सब लोग, रिटेल कस्टमर भी तेले रुमाल होना, अभी पोचमपल्ली में बनता नहीं, वो लोग जो बताता है ये तेले रुमाल बोलता है, लेकिन ऐसा नहीं है। इसके लिए इतना साल हम मेहनत करने के बाद एक 25 इयर्स इसका रिजल्ट अभी निकला है। जैसा इक्कत के भी आज 2 साल से डिमांड अच्छा है, सब जगह इक्कत सारी इसका जो चलता है उसके साथ ये भी चल रही। ये बनाने वाला कम है, लेकिन वो डिजाइन रूप से तेलिया रूप से चल रही, वो भी एक अच्छा बात है। ये जो गवर्नमेंट का जो फेस्टिवल ऑफ इंडिया जो किया, उसके वजह से ये जो डाउन हो गया था चीराल से, फिर अप हो गया, अभी इतना नाम आ गया इसमें। तेले रुमाल बोलते हो एक प्रेस्टीज हो गया, तेले रुमाल का साड़ी लेने वाले को, बनाने वाले को, ऐसा कुछ। मैं भी ये कला को आगे बढ़ने के लिए एक प्रोजेक्ट लेके काम किया है गवर्नमेंट मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ टेक्सटाइल्स का। इसको सबको एक 25 वीवर्स को एक कलर प्रोसेस में ये बनाने के लिए ट्रेनिंग दिया है, वो लोग भी बहुत सीख लिया। लेकिन मैं पीसेस लाया नहीं, लेकिन इसमें डॉक्यूमेंटेशन में सब डिजाइन्स है, इसके साथ सब क्लॉथ भी रखा है, नेचुरल डाई का है ये पैसा है।
So what he says now is that since then he has innovated greatly himself. They have added wool, lycra, linen, and are making textiles out of it. He had told me earlier that they've also worked with crepe and seersucker. And now, after the Festival of India, it's become prestigious to have a Telia Rumal. Everybody knows the name Telia. So he also constantly gets orders for a Telia Rumal. And he is constantly trying to push the boundaries by teaching more and more people. And with the government project, he's taught 25 young people the whole process again. But as we all know, that there's always a dark side to the moon. And while Telia has now, the Ikat technique of the Telia has spread to more and more villages across, there is the other side of copying and faking. And last week, I just went for a quick trip to Lajpat Nagar Market and Sarojini Nagar Market, and I clicked these pictures. The textiles were from 70 rupees onwards, and the saris were from 1200, maximum price were 2,200. So while Pochampalli Ikat were the first people in 1983-84 to get the GI, it is only this year that they have registered their Ikat logo. So I hope that they are going to do something about this copying and faking. And while he has talked about innovation and development, I just want to show very briefly how quickly the world is changing. And none of us can afford to rest at all on our laurels. No one in this room, no weaver, no educationist, nobody. For instance, this Wool Mark Award, this has pushed the boundaries of Ikat weaving. This is Suket Dheer who won it. Bollywood royalty is now wearing the Ikat. And this is the latest from the Isemeyake studio. It is a cotton coat which has been woven along with a new man-made thread called lyocell, which is made out of wood pulp from sustainable tree farms. I don't know where it's being made. I don't think it's being woven in India. But you can see that Isemeyake studio also continues weaving with Ikat. And this is something that I had to show you, because just last week, Gulshanji and I and Manju, we worked with an organization called Commitment to Kashmir. And Weaver came and he brought this Ikat, single Ikat, made in Kashmir from Srinagar. And he said, I need help. So who knows, when we meet again for the next Ikat conference, we may in India have a new Ikat weaving center. And this may be the first start. So I thank Govardhan ji very much.
एक फेस्टिवल ऑफ इंडिया से थोड़ा ये डिजाइन तेले रुमाल का इतना डेवलप हो गया. बाद में और एक है हमारा हैदराबाद का क्राफ्ट काउंसिल ऑफ आंध्र एंड तेलंगाना जो एग्जीबिशन करता है, उसमें भी तेले रुमाल रूप से सेल में हम और दूसरा लोग लगाते. दिल्ली क्राफ्ट काउंसिल में भी कई बार इधर एग्जीबिशन किया, कर्नाटक में भी किया, चेन्नई में किया, कलकत्ता में किया. वो भी हमारा लोकल विजिटर्स को, लोकल कस्टमर्स को मालूम हो गया ज़्यादा ये डिज़ाइन इधर का है, हैदराबाद का ये अच्छा डिज़ाइन है बोल के. ऐसा ऐसा सब जगह से एक 10-15 साल में इतना डेवलप हो गया. आज हम अच्छा खुशी से है इसको एक रिवाइव कर दिया. इसको लेके अभी ये तो मैडम बताया था पहले एक जरी वार्प, ये भी नया कॉन्सेप्ट है. इसका पहले जरी वार्प इंडिया में किधर भी नहीं बनाया, हम ही पहले किया, वो भी 90 इंचेस में. उसका भी रिजल्ट अच्छा आया. वो भी सारिस में कन्वर्ट किया, बहुत साल बनाया था. ये ऐसा ऐसा थोड़ा थोड़ा काम से चल रही. बीच बीच में थोड़ा व्यूवर्स का प्रॉब्लम्स था, थोड़ा ये इंडस्ट्री थोड़ा पढ़ाई के लिए ज़्यादा बच्चे लोग, यंग जनरेशन इसमें नहीं आता था. अभी सिटी में आया, फिर दूसरा में काम जो लग गया, अभी अच्छा वेजेस मिल रही, सब लोग फिर गांव में वापस आ गया. ये अच्छा इंडस्ट्री आगे जाता है बोल के हमको उम्मीद है. नमस्कार.
I just very quickly translate. He actually wants to thank the Crafts Council. He says, I have taken part in the exhibitions with the Andhra Pradesh and the Deccan Crafts Council, with Delhi Crafts Council, with Karnataka, with all the other crafts councils, number one. Number two, the Zari Ikat that you saw, he said we did it for the first time. It was done on 90 inches and then converted into saris. And I think he ends with the best possible news, that the young people had left the village to be educated and take up jobs, but now they have come back to work on the Ikat. So thank you very
You forgot the third. He also he was invited by the Asia Pacific region to Kuwait, and in 2014. So we are part of it as well, not only in India. So, and he demonstrated, his craft. He brought a small loom with him. He made it especially for the exhibition and for this event in Kuwait. I think you were there. Yes. So we were very happy, and he also contributed to the catalog we made on Islamic textiles. It was he contributed to the Rumal entry. So thank you. Thank you very much. I think I have to move because this dialogue has already given the CV of Mr. Gajam, so there is no need to have anything now. I can move to the next.
Yeah.
But later I might just comment, have a small comment. Now we have Mrs. Amanda Spear and Mr. Dane Daller. You are most welcome to Asia Pacific region, to Asia as a whole, and on behalf of Manju and our Indian friends, welcome to India as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the couple are weavers, teachers, and artisans. They moved from Chicago, Illinois to northern New Mexico in 2010, where they live now and weave. In 2013, they learned the traditional weaving methods of northern New Mexico. After learning to weave, their projects concentrated on Ikat. Inspired by Ikat traditions from around the world, but without a local tradition of Ikat, they have had to teach themselves and invent their own techniques to achieve their unique designs. They have since stayed focused on refining and creating their own Ikat tradition. They employ techniques both new and old, and are constantly experimenting with new materials and methods to dye their yarns and woven products. They currently study and teach at the Espanola Valley Fiber Arts Center in Espanola, New Mexico. They work from their home studio and in New Mexico. Over the past few years, they have shown their woven work in various galleries and shops throughout the United States, including the cities of Santa Fe in New Mexico, Chicago, and Fairfield, and somewhere else maybe. They continue to produce contemporary Ikat work, which includes scarves, shawls, art pieces, and sewn clothing. Let us welcome the couple, Mrs. Amanda and Mr. Dane.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, we can just share. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Amanda and this is Dane. We, 5 weeks ago, Edric and Manjari asked us to come here, and the next day we had to apply for passports. So it's been a whirlwind tour getting here, and we can't thank you more. Thank you. And thank you to the World Craft Council as well. Everything has been very amazing. We are going to be showing you a lot of pictures of our work. We are going to be talking mostly on our focus of contemporary weaving and our use of multi-harness looms and the patterns that are included with Ikat and pattern design in our fabric and textiles.
This one, that last one, there's a little bit of overshot pattern on the top combined with the Ikat. And this is with dyed with natural indigo and with a huck lace pattern in the center.
This is one of my designs where I tie my Ikat and I pull it, which is inspired from traditional Japanese Ikat. They pull their warps a lot in order to get the movement.
This is, the whole warp was tied in one bundle as the resist, and then when it's on the loom it's straight and then pulled in sections to get the. That's another one with indigo. We use the zinc lime recipe, and we have a big trash can in our house that the sun hits and warms up, and we can do the dyeing.
We don't have
there.
indigo in New Mexico. We order it from India. So this is your indigo from our home. And we moved to New Mexico from the city. This is a picture of our home that we built. We weave inside. We weave inside our home. We were coincidentally we moved to a weaving region in the world. We didn't know how to weave when we moved there, and we're just a few miles away from a ancient spiritual Navajo site where their goddess was born, and she is the spider woman she wove the fabric of the universe, and I feel like we were enchanted by this Navajo god.
Living there, I think it was only a matter of time before we got into weaving.
This is a picture of my loom inside of our living room, and it takes up half of the room. It's 45 inches wide, and it has 16 harnesses. Most of my designs are 8 harness patterns.
We built the whole house ourselves.
We're still building it.
We're almost done. That's my loom with a recent project. I have an 8 harness loom that's 48 inches wide, so everything is with 4 to 8 harnesses.
Yeah, we use almost always natural fibers. We use a lot of organic cotton that's grown in the U.S., and we use both natural and chemical dyes. We teach natural and chemical dyeing techniques in Espanola at the Fiber Arts Center where we work. This is another picture of Dane's loom. And we use every inch of our house for weaving now. If we weren't weaving now, this would probably be a finished room, but right now it's an empty greenhouse with a lot of yarn drying all the time.
You can see there's snow outside, a little bit of snow.
Yeah, it gets cold there.
It stays pretty warm in the greenhouse.
Oh, you can see another warp in the back of the room drying too.
Yeah.
This is Now we're going to talk a little bit about some patterns. This is a grouped warp thread pattern that I did. I'm actually wearing a similar shawl that I made. Group warp threads with the Ikat, and you can see our Ikat, I pulled this warp again to get it in a diagonal line, and we've been concentrating on how to produce Ikat fast enough so that we can afford to eat and occasionally buy other people's Ikat. So
that's the whole shawl.
You can talk
This is
about quills.
yeah, this is with
Talking with the mic.
using Ikat in conjunction with the twill pattern. And that's another twill with a little bit of Ikat and a plaid, but modern colors.
Dane drafted this pattern and I did the weaving and the dyeing for it. He's been drafting a lot of patterns himself. This is a 8 harness twill.
With the weft Ikat, half of the skein was dyed white, so the pattern disappears on the white warp.
This is the same warp, different skein. So I dyed this one dark on the right side and lighter brown on the left side and left the middle white. And this is a shadow weave, which we have a different shadow weave sample with us. Oh, and we'll show a picture of that too. It's an 8 harness pattern. This one obviously is chemical dyes. This is from the same, I don't know if it's the same piece, but it's the same warp where he has a piece hanging at in the gallery right now here.
This is a shadow weave pattern also. It's shadow weave is based on twill, but in the warp there's a dark and a light thread every other one, and then when you're weaving, you weave a dark and a light alternating, and they create this sort of 3D effect. And this is with a weft Ikat pattern traveling back and forth.
It creates the sort of 3-dimensional effect with the threading and the pedaling of the weave when you're weaving it.
This is another shadow weave one with Ikat in the warp and in the weft.
This is
experimenting with weft Ikat.
We don't have a local tradition, so we've taught ourselves a lot. There is one other Ikat artist in Santa Fe who was teaching a class, and while we were in her class, we were learning with her. We were experimenting and teaching her different techniques at the same time. We all have to teach ourselves or read books or come to India. More experimenting. This, you can see I pulled the warp threads to make it move even more than any of the other pieces we've shown, making it more random and more twill.
This is Ikat in the center, and then combined with shibori dyed afterwards. And that's similar technique to this that I'm wearing. The red is dyed before weaving, and then the blue is afterwards, using wooden blocks, folding it up, and clamping it in there and then dyeing the whole thing. This piece is in the exhibition, and it's there's the red, which is the ikat, and then the diamond is a woven shibori. That's you. As I was weaving it, every 4 to 6 picks, there you weave in a gathering thread, and then pulling all the gathering threads, and that is the scarf. It's about 18 inches wide, but then once it's all gathered, it's about 1.5 inches. Then it's dyed, and that's the result when you pull out the gathering threads and flatten it out. Tying some warp with our cat is very helpful. More tying the warp on our frame that we made. Just the warp dyed. That's it. And the weft skeins dyed. And the result. More helping with the cat and making the weft.
What's the name of your cat?
Her name is Wheeze.
This is a photograph of a project I did where I tied all the skeins in a more controlled way, dyeing and weaving, and then same warp, different skeins. The blue is the weft ikat and the white is the warp ikat. More weft ikat. This is a picture from a recent sale we did. We do local sales, and yeah, table full of. This is a recent project I did with all natural dyeing. The center is the warp and the weft is the yellow skeins. It's all dyed with local traditional medicinal plants, and except for the warp, which is dyed with sandalwood. And their purpose is to be calming meditation scarves. So like Edric's yellow, if you were feeling anxious, you might want to eat the scarf.
Or just wear it. We have a blanket that we don't have a picture of it, but it's a blanket we dyed with mugwort, which is a dream enhancing plant. If you have tea of it before you go to bed, you have wild dreams. And we dyed the wool with the mugwort, and the blanket really does enhance the dreams when you sleep under it.
So these are the skeins and the warp, and then this is the final product. These were really huge shawls. There's been a lot of trauma with my friends lately, so I gifted all of these healing shawls. I'll see if it works. Here's more ikat with a little pattern. The center has a texture in it. It's hard to see. Oh, I have this one with me. We can look at this one, I believe, after. Oh, and this is a shirt that I made. The half of this warp was for fabric and the other half I made into scarves, and then I sewed some shirts out of it. And this is, I think this is one of Dane's newest masterpieces.
It's so the warp goes horizontally in this picture. It's a cotton and linen warp with wool weft, but I wove it twice as wide as my loom using a double weave technique. So I wove sort of a U shape back and forth with the weft, and then when it comes off the loom it unfolds, so it's a full double bed blanket.
Here is a picture of me doing a demonstration at the Fiber Arts Center. We do a lot of teaching there. We are some of the youngest weavers in town, and we're not that young anymore. So I think it's encouraging to the community when we are teaching the classes, and sometimes lately our students are about the same age, which is nice. And there was even an 11-year-old girl. I want to talk a little bit about our local tradition and why we don't do the local traditional weaving, which is a weft-faced tapestry rug weaving. And we live in the region of the U.S. that has probably the most vibrant weaving community, and we're very supported, and it's amazing, but we don't do the local traditional weaving. We're friends with all the weavers and we learn a lot from the weavers, but what we do is we're in a way creating our own style and tradition. This is my self-portrait. And this is Dane. So, yeah. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for having us.
We have a few pieces, so after everything is finished, if you want to come up and feel them or give them a close look,
yeah.
You're welcome to.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's such an experience, an individual experience. It's we really admire it. And I'm sure all your pieces are not only woven with fabric, it's woven with love as well. So
sometimes we get frustrated.
So shall we move to the next and last to the academic research, academic part? Now we come to Dr. Vandana Bhandari. Dr. Vandana is a professor at the National Institute of Fashion Technology, New Delhi. Being academic and researcher, she has published extensively in journals and magazines. Dr. Vandana has authored and compiled books on fashion and textiles. She has contributed to the Berg Encyclopedia on World Dress and Fashion with chapters on subjects like fashion and the garment industry in South Asia, Bollywood, fashion, and the turban. Her books include Celebrating Dreams, Weddings in India, 1998, Textiles and Crafts of India, in 1998, the National Institute of Fashion Technology Millennium Document entitled Evolving Trends in Fashion and Costume, Textiles and Jewelry of India, Traditions in Rajasthan, Jeweled Textiles, Gold and Silver Embellished Cloth of India. Very short CV.
I thought that was too long. Like, who will sell this one?
Please.
Can this be lowered a little bit? If you could. I want to just put this. How does it move? Down? Okay. Dr. Ghada, Govardhanji, Ritu, Amanda and Dane, Edric, I know Manju's here, Manju, and so many friends in the audience, ladies and gentlemen who I may not know. I think there could be very few. I'm going to just try and give a perspective on how ikats have become so popular in Indian fashion. And I think Ritu and Govardhanji have already done most of my job for me, including showing some of my visuals. So, so I think it's, I think it makes a point that on the same panel there are two people emphasizing the same things. So I think that's wonderful. And while we talked about, so many visionaries going and working in some of these areas, I think it took a fashion designer like Issey Miyake to really bring it out there and make it so international. And that's my first slide of Issey Miyake. If we can lower the lights, please. So I was a young professional in the 80s when I first saw a collection of Issey Miyake using bold black and white ikats from Pochampalli. It was the time of Japanese designers being trendsetters. And I was intrigued to see the usage of a traditional fabric from the interiors of India on the ramps of Paris. It led me to think about why Miyake might have employed these textiles. Govardhan ji बहुत ध्यान से देख रहे हैं कि हाँ ये तो लग रहा है वहीं से आया हुआ है. So yes, this is where it came from, and later we went on to create a collection for the Pret in Paris using some of these with an international designer, and it was an absolutely outstanding. It was outstanding to see what effects you could create just using these wonderful ikats. Just different styles would make each garment look different. The same fabric, it would look so different. So when we started to analyze this, that why the technique of ikat making produced such a different look, it was found to be very close to the Japanese aesthetic of design and fashion, which was all the flavor in the mid-80s. It created simplicity without any clutter and had a controlled balance and composition which was aided by irregularity and asymmetry. There is an absence of artifice and an austerity which appeals with its bold simplicity and elegant style. Ikats have a timelessness which is reflected through such elements, and this possibly contributes to its continued usage in the fashion world. Dr. Ghada said something very interesting when she started talking about me, and she said, I'm like in between. I think that's very true, because we work in the fashion field, and I'm very passionate about tradition and handloom and handcrafted and all of those things that we talk about. But really, unless we can make that transition, all of this is not going to help. All of us sitting in this room wearing our beautiful ikats is not enough to support the industry. We need to make the transition. We need to make that impact in the world if it is going to continue on to the next generation, which I'm very happy to say it is. I see examples of it every day, and it's amazing. And that's an ikat by Missoni. I think that's a printed ikat, though of course we know that Missoni does the amazing tie-dyed ikat looks on his knits. And that's a picture again we saw in the morning, a Central Asian design by Gucci. But when Gucci came to India and he did the project Renaissance, which was led by Vogue, he transformed traditional Indian textiles using his signature designs. And this was a film that Vogue created, which was set in rural India, and all the they used many international designers. Gucci was one of them. Christian Louboutin was the other. Peter Pilotto, whom we see in the next slide, They used some of the traditional designs. They used the Patan Patola, they used the Vichitrapuri sari, which Jasleen was talking about in the morning, and they created some outstanding fashionable products. So traditional textiles of India have emerged as a leading force in contemporary fashion, whether they are used by popular Indian fashion brands or used as inspiration by international fashion brands and couture houses, or promoted part of socio-economic developmental agendas or not-for-profit intervention in textile craft cluster. Textiles evolved from traditions that have grown historically in different regions of the country. The symbolic value of textiles has over the years started giving way to them becoming products for trade and being manufactured for economic purposes. In the current discourse, and I'm happy that Ritu's placed me with the session on with Govardhanji, because when I did this paper at the London conference, I did talk about the Telia Rumals, and I did speak to him telephonically to understand how Telia Rumals had moved over the years. Knowing that he would be here and they would already give a lot of that input, I naturally deleted a lot of those slides. But I want to bring to focus on why we've talked about so many different types of ikats today. We talked about the bandhas from Orissa. We talked about the Patan Patolas. We should have talked more about them, but I think Rohitji did not come. But we talked about that. But really, it is the Andhra ikat which has become a fashion material. It is something that is being sold everywhere. It is something which people recognize. It is something which people use. So I've been curious to understand why only Andhra? Why did the Orissa ikat not go this way? I remember as you know, when I was in college, I went to Puri, and there was so much of ikat happening, being woven over there. But it never went on to become a big fashion statement like the Pochampalli ikat did. So I think just to try to understand some of the factors, of course there are many more factors than I've listed here, but I'm going to just list a few of them. And I think a number of factors which contribute to the transition of ikats from traditional to a contemporary practice. And it is important to find that change, to understand that change is not just specific to these textiles. Change is happening in all textiles. And as a scholar Rebecca Hall says, we see the same issues surface repeatedly throughout the world. The simplification of designs, the loss of natural materials and natural dyes, and the production of textiles, not for use within the home, but specifically for sale to tourists and others. And I think in India we are still fortunate that it's not totally moved to that side. It is important to appreciate that change in textiles as part of an ongoing tradition. One of the reasons that ikats of the region are flourishing in the fashion scenario today has been the ability of the weavers in the region to adapt and innovate for the evolving needs of the fashion business. I think many of our textiles are not able to adapt, they are not able to evolve to what fashion needs today, and then the youngster is not concerned. If it's not fashionable, he doesn't want to use it. The focus of fashion also being towards evolving tradition and local heritage, I think in the current scenario is very beneficial for us, and every textile artisan should really be using that to his benefit. And of course that's the beautiful Telia Rumal. And I'm going to then talk about the weavers of Pochampalli. So Pochampalli have produced ikat textiles with geometrical designs and have recently adopted new styles, becoming a flourishing center of modern handloom industry and producing ikat saris and piece goods on a large scale. The ikat cloth made in Pochampalli brings together tradition with contemporary design. And I was showing one of a photograph to one of the weavers who's here from Pochampalli yesterday, and he said, I said, did I get it for the right price? I bought it in Delhi, you know, I wish I'd got it from you. And he looked at it and he said, oh no, this is Central Asian design, so very expensive. Even in Pochampalli, very expensive. So, you know, when it's new design, when it's contemporary design, they are also looking at it like that. But they have moved on. They are able to create contemporary design. The process of making ikats is complex and requires multiple steps and involves complicated mathematical calculations along with knowledge of color and pattern, which are available in plenty in the region. And it's up to us really as designers, as researchers, to be able to use that knowledge to make it in something which is so usable for our market. Just to talk a little bit more about what has happened in that region, there multiple management systems exist for the production of cloth. Master weavers, Pochampalli Park, cooperative societies all coexist and add value to the craft. The master weaver is a mediator between other weavers and the market. He provides raw material, yarn, zari and color and design to the weaver. Sometimes tie-dyed yarn may also be given for weaving. Master weavers also give wages to weavers. Fabrics are then supplied to wholesalers by the master weavers. Under the cooperative system, weavers are working together to form societies. And why I talk about this is that in 2006, there was a handloom park which was established in Pochampalli, and I think that again gave a great impetus to the availability of Ikat fabric in the market. You know, very often, sometimes if I want a mushroom fabric in Delhi, it's hard for me, and if it's hard for me, I don't know who it may be easy for, to actually get that fabric in Delhi. And parks like this made it easier for Ikat to be available to designers to see as a fabric which they could put into their collections. And by integrating designing, tying and dyeing, weaving under a single roof with a focus to sustain the unique traditional Ikat technique of the area, they did innovative work in this sector. They also started to train many more weavers in this weaving technique using some of our master artisans. So the setting up of the Pochampalli Park enabled Ikats to be made in quantities which can be made for mass production. Saris, dress materials, yardages, bedspreads started to be woven. Organizations and brands like Biba, Raymonds and Pantaloons are ordering large quantities of fabric for producing fashionable garments for their stores. And one of my students who was working in Raymonds, one day he called me up and he said, "Ma'am, we've got kind of a directive from the ministry that we all have to use handloom, and I really like the idea of using Ikat. Where should I go?" And I said, "Contact somebody in the Pochampalli Park. They'll be able to give you the quantities that a company like Raymonds might need. If you have to produce 5,000 shirts, maybe they will be able to give you that." So this has gone a long way in making the production of Pochampalli Ikats into a sustainable product for the fashion segment. The products are made using traditional methods by utilizing high quality of raw material, stringent dyeing processes for fabric making. And that's more on the park, but I think at 5 o'clock I don't want to bore you with all the details of that. The other thing I think I find in Pochampalli is that the weavers have a very, very positive attitude. A lot of us who work in the craft sector, you go to people and they'll say, "Oh, this is not possible. No, this is too tedious. No, I'm not going to do this," because they're so set in their ways, they don't want to change. But I think when you go to that region, they're always up and saying, "Let's do something new. What could we do? How can we do this? How can we learn?" Like he mentioned that he went from Puttapakka to Chirala to learn that technique. From there they came to Banaras to get silk. So they've always been very, very innovative, and I don't think it's from today. It's been from many, many centuries. And I think the region has always been one which promotes entrepreneurship. The best chins were produced and exported from the Coromandel coast across the world, and the Ikats too have an economic basis for their development. The technique itself, though it is difficult, it is time consuming, and yet it is simple. So you can, with very small changes, create new designs very quickly. So you can make in color, in variety, in design. You can just by using different tie-dye techniques and using the plain weave, you can actually create multiple types of design. Another concern that is often discussed in the craft sector, I mentioned that earlier, which bias says the last mile connectivity. How do they reach the weaver? How do they connect with the weaver? And that's always been a problem. Now, of course, with mobile phones and WhatsApp, I think to some extent this has become less, but it is still a problem, to make that last mile connectivity. And Mukti Khare, a scholar from Harvard, she emphasizes this issue. She says the current scenario in the Indian handicraft and handloom sector is defined by patchy access to handcrafted products for customers and an equally patchy access to markets for artisans. But villages in and around Pochampalli, they are very accessible from Hyderabad. All of these people, आपके सबके दफ्तर हैदराबाद में भी हैं, तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं होती है कस्टमर को बहुत इजी एक्सेस करने में आप लोगों को. So there's an ease, of connectivity. Pochampalli is 40 to 50 miles from Hyderabad, so you can quickly take a flight, get into a cab, and you can go there, order and come back in a matter of a day. And in the fashion business, time is money as everywhere else, but this is like not only time is money, the fashion may change tomorrow. So that quickness is also required. So I think that kind of has also facilitated people to easily use some of these textiles. Some of the other things have been like innovations among the weavers, like the manufacturing of the ASU machine, which really increased the production rates and eased some of the aspects of production. So I think some of these things also have helped in the production of the ikats. And she's showing me the 2-minute sign, so I'm getting very nervous. So just to say quickly a few more points, and I'm almost at the end. The cloths woven here combine tradition and modernity in design. The weavers of Pochampalli are popular for their traditional and geometric patterns and ikat techniques. New products are being created, and this has introduced a new design language. Both the domestic and export markets seek to create contemporary products according to seasonal trends and forecasts, and this has modified the product. And not only international designers, our own designers, that's some pattern patolas by Sabyasachi Mukherjee. Anything a designer of his stature puts on the ramp, immediately every woman worth her salt or man worth his, I don't know what you say, man worth his what? Yeah, sugar? Okay. They want one of those in their wardrobe. So I think designers like him have done a lot for handlooms and for products like this. Anita Dongre with her grassroots line, and I visited her store in New York recently, and it was amazing the type of product she was creating, the type of styling she had done using some very, very basic fabric. And I think if we can convert it into styling like that, definitely going to be fashion products. Brands like Translate, which are creating just ikat based products. And that was Rajesh Pratap at the Fabric of India exhibition at the V&A. A senior designer, he's been using ikats in his collection consistently for the last 4 years. He feels that this technique has immense possibilities and can be used to create very modern effects. Though indigenous and handcrafted, the technique is removed from the ethnic look of even other ikats. With its graphic motifs, irregularity which is beautiful, and a fabric that lends itself to interpretation and manipulation, ikats can be molded into new collections every season with ease. I was quoting Rajesh. And Rajesh has created ikats using not just cotton and silk, but using indigo dyed wool and other materials like linen, and woven even metallic yarns in gold and silver color from ikat effects. And we know where he must have got his inspiration from Govardhanji using the gold and metal in his. These are all pieces that went into the V&A exhibition. And some of the downsides, I was discussing with some designers, and they said that the big problem in making it into a fashion product is that there is lack of sampling of ikat. Due to threads being tied in bunches, people only want to do minimum 25 meters, and there's a lot of investment, heavy investment in sampling, and many people don't want to make that. And sometimes there are inconsistent colors in production, and though we may keep saying, oh, it's a handloom product, in the fashion business, consistency is considered to be extremely important. And that is Abraham and Thakur. I think one of their pieces is there at the exhibition right outside in the lobby, and one of these, that piece was also shown at the V&A. Indian designers today use handcrafting in some form or the other while producing fashion apparel and textiles. And it's really, if you look at any Indian designer, they have to use Indian fabric. It's not like they can just work with polyesters or anything. It doesn't work for them. That's what they're known for. So they reinterpret traditional styling, tie-dye techniques, hand embroidery like chikankari and zardozi and fine sewing techniques, and create contemporary fashion. These designers have therefore brought craft closer to the consumer by their innovative product development, thereby catering to their contemporary needs. And I really feel, I'm going to end with this slide, and I'm going to explain that in a little while. The stories of fashion are those of revivalism, and there is an increased interest in traditional fabric and styling. This is probably a reaction of how the world is viewing India. And India always views itself the way the West views India. You know, when they were using polyesters, we wanted to use polyesters. When they are using natural dyes, we want to use natural dyes. So we are always a little few steps behind them, but that's the way the world is viewing India, and I think we are going to start viewing ourselves a little differently also. And if I have a minute, I just want to tell one story. So I was at a friend's party, we were celebrating his 65th birthday. I'm not 65, I was just at a friend's place. And his daughter came in and she was wearing a beautiful Ikat dress, and I smiled to myself. I said, oh, you know, that looks very interesting. And about half an hour back, her younger sister came in, and they were both in their late 20s, these girls, or early 30s. And she was wearing an Ikat dress. So I said, oh, today is an Ikat evening. So this girl turns around and tells me, you know, auntie, there's an Ikat Symposium. You must really go for that. I said, okay. So, you know, I think the word is out. And I was really happy. I said, oh my God, people are using this. And closer to home, my daughter is getting married in December. And she sends me a Pinterest picture with a Ikat tie. And she says, Mom, do you know what this textile is? Do you think I can give this as gifts at the wedding? And I said, sure, we can do this. And that's why I was buying that Ikat fabric. So there is a wave of revival in Indian fashion, and all stories are changing towards revivalism. Almost every designer, veteran or young, works with Indian craft and textiles in some form or the other. A new generation of Indians who are global and tech savvy, while remaining firmly rooted in their culture. And accordingly, a variety of new home furnishing articles, including cushion covers, curtains, throws, bedspreads, wall hangings, lampshades, as well as a range of garments are being produced and sold in the domestic and international market. And if I can have that slide back, it seems to have disappeared. That was a slide from a company called Matter. And I was doing some work with an organization, and we were talking about social design. And I came across this brand called Matter, which does travel pants for the young. So they say nobody wants to wear tight denims or lycra leggings anymore. They want ease, comfortable. The youth want to be easy, they want to be comfortable. And they're creating these loose trousers, and lungi-like trousers and dhoti-like trousers. Did I move that? Sorry, I moved too much. And so this was like a lungi type of trouser, and they call them travel pants, pants to travel in. That's their byline, and that's a brand called Matter. I am not a promoter of Matter. I have nothing to do with the company. I just came across this and I studied this brand. Very, very interesting. It's talking about, I think, the mood of the people. There is a certain set of people who do not want to fit into the old idioms, and they want something new for themselves. So they don't want to travel in denims, they want to travel easy, they want to stay in Airbnbs, they want to carry backpacks, and this is a whole new generation. And I think at this moment we've got, this is a great example of what people want to do. You know, this is like, you have to go on this. I don't have time to tell you everything about the brand. I'm doing a paper on this for another conference, just on this brand. It's so exciting. Okay, I'm done. You have a question already? Thank you.
Thank you.
Something about that Matter brand.
Okay.
The fabric is made by Srinath, the weaver who is at the exhibition.
Okay, fantastic. So you see how connected we are. I think it's, and I got that picture in New York. You know, I get a lot of information from my children who are in their 30s, and my daughter bought this type of a trouser for, she paid some $169 or something, and I was like, what? I could have stitched it for you, you know, and I would have bought 2 meters of fabric. What are you doing? And she says, Mom, you don't get it. This is like about being socially good also. All the money, she had a story. So, you know, I think the younger children, the youth think differently, and this was a trouser which had like multiple buttons and you could adjust to your waist and so on and so forth. So quite an exciting new idea, Indian easy fabric which has got its own identity and all of that. So fantastic. I think we must tell him that people know about this brand. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you all, and just you know, a word of thanks for the three speakers and Mrs. Ritu. The dialogue. Do you have any more strength for a few minutes, or you are really exhausted, so we don't do any comments and no questions? What do you want? You know, I just want to say, I did not wait for your answer. I just want to say that the dialogue was between Mrs. Ritu and Mr. Ganchan was really very interesting to know about his, you know, his efforts and what he has done through his life. And I really admire him to go to another village, learn the technique, come to his own village and started it there and make it flourish, and then promote it outside, you know, in Europe, where and teaching also. You are interested in teaching also, not only for himself, also for teaching others and for bringing also the young people back to the village. And this is what we are really aiming at. This is the WCC mission or aim. As for the young couple, Mrs. Amanda and Mr. Dane, I think it's very interesting designs you have, and they are inspired from Japan, from here, from everywhere. But I want to say that you are really adventurous in many ways. First of all, to come from the north, the remote north of America, to the south, from the cold to the heat, maybe 40 degrees or more, and to build your own house. It looks like as if it is in the wilderness, right?
It is.
It is. Yeah. So they are really very courageous to do it, and you have very, very nice work also as well. So congratulations. And for Dr. Vandana, I think she left. I don't know.
No, I'm
Why are you hiding? You know, I was also. This is the mission of WCC as well, and Asia Pacific region. She is stressing the transition from tradition to the contemporary. This is very important, not to lose the tradition. We want to keep the tradition, but be innovative and contemporary at the same time. So for me, and for all of us, we really appreciate this very much, because some people, you know, they just go astray and they start innovating and they forgot the tradition immediately, and they don't care for the tradition just for money. So Yes, and also I really appreciate your analyzing why some of the ikat is not popular and the other is popular, and you digged in to find the reasons why. So thank you very much. I think that's all I want to say, and if you have any questions for any of the speakers, you are welcome. 5 minutes will not make any difference. So, any questions? Well, thank you very much. Thank you all. And I was starting to grumble why I am at the end. I am very exhausted, but I feel that I wake up. You woke me up. Starting with you.
So thank you, Dr. Gada, for being a great chair to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now to the last.
Not over yet.
Not over yet, guys.
What is the next step? I don't think that
I think there's statements.
Where are we going? Sorry? Where are we going now?
Now there is going to be Edric and Justine are going to do a wrap up.
To come here? Okay, so I give you my chair. I give you my chair, Edric. Alhamdulillah. Edric, I did not take lunch.
Oh dear.
Edric, I am still here. Edric, I am still, I did not take anything. No, give it to Surat. No, give it to Surat.
Already in the
I
hotel.
had in the hotel. Give it to Surat.
No, this is for the other students, the Bandas.
Tomorrow, Manju
This is for all the delegates who are here from all the countries. Tomorrow morning, you're free till the afternoon, and we are doing a dinner tomorrow evening. So I'll leave a note in your rooms tomorrow early morning before you set out. So tomorrow is a free day for you to shop, to do whatever you like. And now also is free, so you can go wherever you like. Dr. Gada and I would like to host something tomorrow evening, so we'll let you know about that. This place and everything. Dinner. Yeah. We have to decide. 11. Doctor. Thank you. Timings are 11 a.m. to 7 p.m.
From where?
At Bikaner House.
Tomorrow.
Today, tomorrow, day after.
How today?
Not yet, we'll do that later.